Okay, good evening all. I'm officially calling the regular board meeting for July 12th, 2022 into session. As soon as I can advance my slides here. There we go. Please, if you don't mind, rise for Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing while we take a moment of silence to consider those who have gone before us. Thank you very much.
You go back, please.
All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Allen?
I am present.
Deputy Mayor Ryan?
Here.
Trustee Alter?
Yep.
Trustee Decker is absent. Trustee O'Malley?
Here.
Trustee Shudding?
Here.
Trustee Walreed? Here. Also present is Treasurer Denise McMahon and Deputy Clerk Judy Vandekar and Attorney Andrew Gilchrist.
All right, thank you. Just as a starting reminder, we did have a public hearing that we did in the July 5th, 2022 special meeting. This is regarding the building located at 59 Church Street. That remains open. We will have, if anyone right now wants to speak directly about that, we decided to keep the meeting open into this meeting. So at this point, normally we don't have a people to be heard section until later, but this is a people to be heard section specifically regarding the situation with the building at 59 Church Street that we've posted and advertised and so on and so forth. So at this point, is anyone here would like to speak to the board specific to the 59 Church Street matter? Yes?
Can I ask for a recap of what the matter is?
Sure. Andy, do you want to give the quick version?
Sure. This is a structure that the building department and the board of trustees has determined to be unsafe because of a roof condition. They acted under their local law pertaining to unsafe buildings and structures, and part of that is notifying the property owner and having an opportunity to be heard on the matter, and that's the purpose of the public hearing today.
All right. Thank you, Andy. We'll leave this open for a little bit. We'll give one more chance if people want to speak to it or coming in late. That being said, we're going to move on. I have a few announcements. The first announcement, they're both specific to Unity House. They are hosting 2 programs throughout the summer, and they have started. The first one is Artists as Allies. It's aimed for ages 16 to 24. You paint a mural with friends that shows the community what healthy relationships look like. They are providing supplies and canvases, and they're operating every Monday. They've already started from 1 to 3 p.m. at Wood Park, and it's going to run through the summer. The second event is similar but rolls on Wednesdays, and it's aimed for ages 12 to 18. This is the Youth Advisory Board. It's a team of youth working together to enact change in their community. And again, it operates every Wednesday at the park from 1 to 3 p.m. It started this week. It starts actually tomorrow, beginning July 13th, and will run through the summer. So I'm hoping that we can get the information out on that. So I think those are good two good programs in Unity House. That's a lot of good work. What's that?
I said they sound terrific. They're
Absolutely.
Really excited to be doing it.
Absolutely.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Do you know where they're putting the mural? Is it a permanent mural or?
That I don't know. I would stop by and ask. I'm not sure. Yep.
I'm totally supportive.
I did want to pass on one update that is on the Hoosick Falls PFOA settlement website. And just as a reminder, this is not something that the village has done. This is something separate that was a class action suit. They just posted this on their webpage July 11th. It says, final review of all property damage class and nuisance class claims has now been completed, and the claims administrator is generating the checks for mailing. Mailing of checks for property damage and nuisance claims will occur on or before July 28th of 2022. And claimants will have 120 days to cash checks before they will be voided. Review of the claims for the medical monitoring class are continuing and are expected to be finalized soon. The medical monitoring administrator will be contacting all claimants eligible for the program with instructions on how to participate. Southwestern Vermont Medical Center in Bennington will provide the monitoring services for the program. That's great. We'll expect the program to commence sometime this fall. I know a lot of people have been asking about that, even though we're not directly involved in that. We want to pass that information on. So I have a few updates I want to go through and talk through. Sometimes it's me just spewing things out, but other times it's a conversation. I'm kind of expecting that to happen with the board. First off, we're still looking for a zoning and planning board member, so if you're interested in being in either of those boards, please reach out to our good village clerk. What's that?
You know the person for the civilian?
We are also looking for an individual to join the Civilian Review and Reform Board. Yes,
Whatever called.
I should add that to the agenda next time. Second, one of the big projects we've been working on pre-COVID was the Woodsbrook Home Buyout Program. Demolition at 107 Main Street is basically complete. I think there's a few little details that have to happen. Mark, is that right, or did they finish today?
They finished yesterday.
Alright, so it is done. The next steps, and I'm going to come back to this in a minute, will be discussing and getting quotes on fencing, the possibility of land acquisition, which will be very tricky and tight, but I want to see if we are interested in going on that. Closing out the grant by the end of August and working with DEC, who has already started to do some work on the next step. There was a second step after this. The DEC made some money available to pay for basically what turns into like an engineering planning grant, where you have a firm come in, talk, do a design, put the design together, and then that empowers you to go out and search for more grants or open up a little bottle drive to make the final changes. I have a phone call through to them to get a meeting scheduled as soon as possible to find out fully what their scope is, what they are and aren't doing, and I'm trying to get that set up this week. I do have some pictures I wanted to share. This is the location of 3, 5, and 7 Hall Street. These were all taken today, so thank you, Neil, for getting these pictures over. This is one side of 27 Elm Street, actually standing on the driveway across the street, and the culvert runs underneath it. And from the other perspective, let me try to see if I can get this a little bit out of the way here.
Are there any other choices for fencing discussed?
One second, there we go. On this spot, no. I don't think we had, Mark and Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, any detail on which specific types of fencing. I think we were initially thinking get safety fencing there as soon as possible.
I'm on the Woodsbrook committee, and of course I was out of the loop again on any kind of...
Yeah, I'm sorry. We talked about that last meeting and the fencing was already set in motion. I'm sorry about
I
that.
don't think so, but you know, it's just a continuation of what's been going on.
Okay. 107 and 115 Main Street. This is from the perspective of 115 Main Street near the corner of the next property, which came down a little while ago, and this is the 107 Main Street that just came down. And from the back side, it looks like that with a hill of rock going up. From the side views, this is what we're looking at in terms of making our next decisions and getting quotes in on fencing. This spot right here, where's my mouse, is one where 107 used to be. These slabs will be pulled out by the village, and we'll have to do some form of fencing that kind of comes over to here, runs across here, and over this way and back here. It's going to be a little tricky because there's a culvert, and I'm going to go to the opposite side over here, that runs underneath here, so there's some questions on if we can go near or attach to that wall, and how close can we get to the building. Mark, Neil, anything else you want to add to that description of sort of the complexity of the fence situation there?
No, only I've got one guy coming the 21st, and we're gonna look at 3 different types of fence. I don't know, you guys are looking at that 6-foot black fence like downtown, or so I'm gonna see if they'll give us a price on that, and the chain link fence price, we'll get, you know, gonna look at a couple different kinds.
Is there such a thing as a black chain link fence?
Yeah.
So if that I mean, if we can't afford the fancy stuff, black would look at least better
You can
than
get
silver.
black or green, I think. You can get black or green. It's a little more expensive than just the galvanized chain link fence, but.
Well, how much money is left in the,
That was the next thing. Denise and Mark and Andy and Neil were all working on this, and we got a finalized number of where we're at right now. And this does include Dan's hauling for the work they just did. It does get us caught up with all fees at this point, including the other fencing. We've spent $862,288 of the $1 million grant. So that leaves us approximately 137 and change, near 138. So we do have the luxury of looking at some higher priced, more permanent fencing. Unfortunately, we don't know what DEC's next steps are with what they can and can't do there. So a little bit of guesswork right now, which is why we're trying to get them scheduled to figure out what's coming next. And if we can time that with our decisions on fencing, as long as we can get the fencing chosen, quotes, we choose, I would assume Neil and probably Mark will be sort of looking into the nuances of where exactly the fence goes, and we'll just be talking about what type of fencing we're looking for. When Kevin emailed me the pictures of the black fencing, which are similar to the black fencing we have behind the parking lot at the Greenway, across from the laundromat, I asked him to email those out, and we got those over to them. So they're looking into multiple types of quotes for different types of fencing from the various people who can provide fencing
can
quotes.
the village board see those before we make any kind of final decision on that?
Absolutely. Our hope is to get the prices and the pictures of what they would look like to you guys. We can't really make a decision on that until we have that.
At a minimum, it's prohibitively expensive. I'm assuming we could put the decorative fencing where it's plainly visible, and if we have to use chain link, there's obviously a part that's basically into that brush line. But I think where it's facing Main Street, it needs to be, at a minimum, something there, something decorative.
And just to show what Kevin was talking about, these are, I think, the pictures that he sent over to us. This style of fencing, oh, that's really small.
All those pictures are from different public works projects that have used that kind of fence.
Okay. The fencing that we have that I mentioned, it's at the parking lot by the Greenway, it basically continues with sort of the posts on the top that sort of strafe off, but they're very similar to this look and style.
That's similar to what's in the village parking lot now, isn't it, downtown?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I thought that's where the picture was from. I looked at it quick when you sent it, Kevin. The other question, seeing we have that type of money left, if that being the case, is there a chance we could review the looks of the fencing by the old Cabanos on Elm Street and possibly put something more aesthetic there? Or, I know it'd be spending money that's, for the fence that's already there, but that doesn't look very aesthetic.
Maybe you can find some ways to terrace it off into different sections.
I don't see any harm in asking.
Of course, it's DEC's decision.
The state does have to approve anything, so I don't know if the state will raise objections to the fact that we have some fencing in, but we're looking for better. We knew that we wanted something imminently for safety concerns, but now that we know we have the money, we may be able to upgrade this as well. So there's no shame in looking.
So is that considered finished product right there, right now, with looking at those pictures?
I mean, that's what we're kind of waiting on with DEC. We're trying to figure out what is the next step. When the original project was explained, we were supposed to have this program closed out before the next step started, and then the next step started early, and then it's been on hold for various different reasons that have come up, which have all been normal and legitimate, but that's what we're trying to figure out, is what is the scope of what DEC's involvement is right now. So hopefully in the next week, we'll have that sit down.
So if we have 138,000 left, is there more we have to do besides just fences?
If we pursued the 1 or 2 pieces of small strips of land, which is going to be very hard to sort of get in, because of the timing, we would have to have surveys, appraisal on the specific spot. We'd have to have the discussions with the two owners to make sure they're still interested. And we'd have to drop all the documents and all the other various title
You would use
things.
it to buy the property.
What's that?
You would use it to buy the property.
Yeah, but we would divide a strip. There's a strip of 4 Hall Street that goes in between that sort of like dirt road that goes over to the Catholic Church from off of Hall Street. There's a small strip by the water that's technically 4 Hall Streets, and the other would be this small strip of land right next to 115 Main, where the old railroad tie wall used to be that was fading. But again, it starts with, are the landowners interested, and are they ready to move fast if we can do it, and also obviously time with us, and if Andy does or does not want
What are you
to
gonna do with
stab
that property once we own it?
By owning those small strips, it just gives us more flexibility for whatever comes next. If we wanted to make, significant changes to that wall there, but we don't own that land, it becomes a much more complicated thing. We have to get agreements with the owners and so on and so forth.
Is there any consideration for, you go back to your picture on Wall Street, doing something, whether reseeding it or putting a parking lot there or anything?
Again, that all depends on what the next step is with the state. I know one of the spots I'd love to have a parking lot is next to, in between the old Dodge building and the corner large building there. It'd be a great spot for just a simple parking lot, and that is, a parking lot is something that we are allowed to do as per the grant agreement, because there are restrictions on what we use the property for. But again, that all comes to,
Part of the design.
yeah.
You're not gonna wanna put the property to a certain use that would not be compatible with what the purpose of this was, which was flood control.
Right.
So it really doesn't even be coordinated
If
on.
we had another parking lot, we could avoid the flood traffic, the flood in the village.
Another kind of flood, you're correct, but not this particular.
Different type.
So, going back through, next steps are gonna be fences, possibility of land acquisition, which I'll be working on the next 2 days to see if that's even something that owners are interested in, and if Andy can make that magically happen in the short time we have, and if not, it's okay. I'm all right with that.
Wouldn't that require a survey?
Yes, we have surveys completed, but we would probably have to have them come back out to,
Just describe the strip.
yes.
There's surveys of the entire parcel, but they would need to be updated to describe just the proposed strip of land to take.
So I'm hoping by the end of the week I have some more information on, where we are, if we have get any quotes in, if we have had the conversations with landowners and so on and so forth.
Just as a point of interest, I just looked up what that black fencing costs, and I think this is very similar to what's down by the laundromat. So it's just got the little things you were talking about.
Yeah, they stick up.
Section. And this is just a random website, I'm sure we can get it cheaper and tax exempt and all, but $198 for 6 feet. So I mean, that's not, I don't think that's an ungodly expense.
No, that should be able to fit well. So I'm hoping that in the next week or two, if we get a specific meeting with DEC and we get the quotes on fencing, now that we have all the budget, it's all coming together right now, which is good, because that's really all the time we have left. So again, next steps, close out the grant by the end of August and work with DEC. Any other questions on the buyouts? All right, let's hop over to the other Woodsbrook program, which is the drainage improvement project that we've been doing with the town. Both sites, the work is now completed, and I have a bunch of pictures to show you from there. These pictures are all from Ryan Weitz of B&L. He sent these to me. Mark and Neil, along with, of course, office staff and Andy, have done a tremendous amount of work on this. This is a grant that we had with, combined with the town. The two sites were Johnson Hill and Richmond Avenue. This is the Johnson Hill site, which was going to be, I don't know if it was replacing an existing culvert, getting it a little bit higher so that if there's a larger flow of water in a short amount of time like we had back when the flood, what happened, it would be able to collect at a larger area and then pursue down the Woodsbrook at a more orderly way. So, and I don't know if it was planned to take all the before pictures on a dreary fall day and all the after pictures on a beautiful weather, but it just kind of cracked me up. So these are some pictures from Johnson Hill before and after. previously, what it used to be, and then what it is now. And I think as Neil was telling me, the road actually went a little bit higher than it used to, so the culvert is actually a little bit higher than it used to be as well, which allows for a little more collection. The position of the after is a little bit different, but you can tell it's from right here, kind of aiming down this way. And then just some larger pictures of the new culvert that goes under Johnson Hill Road. Sorry, that was that last picture. And the second site was the Richmond Avenue site next to the golf course. There used to be an older sort of wall there and some sort of random land, and they did a lot more with the land in this area to again kind of act as a larger collection area. So if there's a large flow of water, instead of it just powering through the village, it can actually collect and go down in a more orderly way. Just another picture of the area. Some more site pictures. And yeah. So next steps with this. First off, we just got the closeout document sent to the board yesterday. I said it's too late for our meeting to look over those and go over those, but I'll get those to you in email tomorrow. And I have them actually tonight if we need to see them for any reason. I think, was it a public hearing we need to set for August?
Yeah.
Part of the grant program requires a public hearing at the end. So we just got a notice for that, so that'll be a notice that we have for our next regular meeting. That's just a requirement there. Any questions on that? All right. I had a list of small projects I wanted to get your thoughts on in terms of quotes.
You skipped over phones.
What oh shoot, I did skip over phones. In terms of the phones, and I sent the attachment over earlier, we have a proposal that we need to have the board approved, not sort of in a sense of the cost, because it's a small cost. It's $180.23 one time, and it adds to our monthly about $52. But just because we just want to make sure the board formally approves this. This is our continuing getting rid of a lot of the older phone lines and getting new voice over IP phones over here. This phone will, this quote will have 2 new phones. One will go in the main lobby and replace the one that is out there that's been broken and fixed and broke again. This will allow people to dial 911 or dial the non-emergency number, or dial the village office from the lobby, or dial the local police number from the lobby. It'll give them a lot more options, so when they come into the building they can do that. The second phone will come over to here for Neil, now that we have internet over here. It will also provide Neil with a fax line, which is also voice over IP fax machine, but it will still work with this existing fax line. So,
How much are we paying for the current phone system there?
Most of the regular old style copper lines are about $40 to $50 a month. Going to this cuts them in half. Also makes them more reliable as long as the internet's working, but we have all generators in the buildings for that. So I just want to, I had that to mention it, it's in a business item later in the meeting. The last things I wanted to pose to you guys, a few small projects that I wanted to see if you thought would be worth pursuing. And these could include getting quotes and using ARPA funds for them if we wanted to, or long-term plans. I have 4 here. A review of all the village-owned benches within the village, and that would, and we have that in the meeting later. That could include purchasing additional benches and just sort of making an overall plan on where things go. The second one was a modification of the municipal bathroom in the police office. Right now, if you are a resident, and I always like to think of this in terms of residents who grew up here and residents who are new here. Because if you're a resident who grew up here, you know how to get to the police office. You just have to go around the side and if the door is open. But if you're not a resident who goes here, you don't know what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to call, where you're supposed to go. So we had made one change to what's currently the ladies' bathroom in the municipal building. I want to eventually make that the guys' bathroom because it will be smaller. I want to take the existing guys' bathroom, at about twice the depth, which will come out of the police chief's room right now. And that window that we have that goes into the police room from the main lobby, which is never used, we actually have reinforced bulletproof glass down in the basement, which we could put back in there. And what we could do with that room is we could make that room an entry spot for police officers. So they could actually have a desk there, and they could have various break things like, the sink and, whatever little cabinets there. So that way, when a police officer is in the station, they're actually in the main room, so any person could come up to the lobby and knock on the window and get a police officer. Because right now there's still confusion. And, we'll fix a lot of that with the signs and the new phone, but that's sort of something that I want to do that would give us a larger and more efficient bathroom for ladies and a bathroom for men that would have both a urinal and a normal toilet. And even though we would all have to get used to the fact that they would be on opposite sides from everything we've been doing in the municipal building forever, that would be something I'd like to look into, getting a quote on. The third project I had in mind is the handicap ramp. We know that the handicap ramp is in rough shape, the railing in particular is in rough shape. I would love to see if there was any way that we could have the handicap ramp positioned from the front and come up. It's gonna be hard and it may require changing some things, but if you're staring at the municipal building and the steps are right here, I think there may be some space on the right side to get a ramp to come up. That way the ramp can come up to the main lobby and have all the access to the main lobby that we have for anyone else who doesn't need the ramp. The police phone, access to the building, access to the bathrooms. Right now, if someone is handicapped and they want to come to the municipal building, if those doors are locked, they don't have access to the bathroom because the police door is locked after hours and on weekends.
You would need a long ramp with a lot of landing spots just to get to that point.
It would probably have to go back and probably up against the building and then come forward and maybe up again. It would be a hefty lift, to make that happen. I don't know if it's possible, but it would be much more ideal for what they would be able to access if anyone needed to use the ramp.
And where would that money come from?
Get a quote. It can come from ARPA, or we can work to budget it into the next budget.
I gave you a quote for that, for
Yeah,
fixing the other one.
fixing the other
I
one.
think it was,
15 grand, a little more than that.
it was more than that, it was in the 20s, I think, just to fix the old one.
I remember.
That's solid, that's solid.
That old one that didn't make that, we're gonna live with that one for a couple of years.
And then the final project I wanted to gauge you guys on is the municipal building has a heating and AC system in the courtroom. It only functions for the courtroom. We have the police department side, which has two large rooms, and we have the village office side, which has the large room and the two small offices. I have heard but not confirmed that the unit that we got put in is way bigger than what we're using it for now. So it's possible that we could get the heating and AC set up for all of the upstairs. That way in the summertime, we wouldn't be using the window AC in the offices on both the police and village side, and we wouldn't be using the electric heat that exists on both the village and office side. Also, I'd like to look into what sort of filters they could add so that we, in this new COVID world, would have good air flow and air filtration, which would make me a lot more comfortable as we look to moving back into the municipal building for our meetings, which is just significantly easier, but it will be a tight room for that. So, board, I threw out 4 ideas there. Projects, we can kind of pass on the benches because I know that's going to be discussed later. But what are your thoughts on me getting quotes for those projects so that we can have it in our greater discussions of ARPA funds and budget?
We have a special meeting, and I actually was talking to Megan about that, to get all our ducks in a row about ARPA funding, because it seems like every month we're passing it down to the next month, and get priorities together, because I still don't think we have a list of priorities that we talked about.
So, yes, and we are looking to possibly have an ARPA meeting, or have a special meeting next week. And we have a few items on there, we could certainly do that. I did, anticipating these discussions, I know Bobby Decker isn't here, but I did finalize a document I wanted to show you guys as well. This is kind of a working product of where things are at right now. ARPA fund for round one was 171,000. This is what the board has approved in terms of spending. We did the standard allowance of 122,000, the village office computers of 7,500, and the gazebo improvements of 8,510, which means this is what we have remaining right now, 33,149. The next round, I'm going to scroll down, is supposed to come at any time. We've gotten the letter that it's coming, which is great that they spent time sending us a letter saying it's coming. Okay,
Checks in the
cool. So we have another 171 that's going to be coming at any time, which means between those two numbers, we have a little bit over 200,000 remaining to decide. Now, I know back in April, we had the meeting in the conference room here and discussed things, and I sort of went through and just readjusted that meeting. These are all the proposals that we casually talked about, and these are priorities that we had listed. And again, this is not like we're not held to this. This is what we were thinking back in April. And I did email this document out to you guys today so that you'll have it as something to check up on. These are the things we had looked into for the police department. And again, this is not like a permanent list. This is something we can work off of. If there's other things we've talked about, great. Municipal building improvements, the handicap ramp, the bathrooms, the air purification. I think a dump truck was posed, but as you can see, none of us really jumped for that. I crossed out the office computers because we've already done that. Sidewalk roadway improvements, we talked about the parking study. Did we approve that?
I think we already approved it, did we?
No, we didn't. We tabled it and, we approved something else instead.
Now it's Verizon with the other.
Signature, right?
No, I think it's Signature, right?
No, it wasn't Verizon, yeah.
For the second-
We were waiting for the next round of
For
ARPA
the next round
funds.
of money, yeah.
Okay.
By the way, I called the company after our last meeting, and they never even called me back, so I'm not sure they're interested anymore.
All right. Well, if we do throw this up on next week's special meeting, we could certainly discuss that there. And hopefully by then we'll actually have the money. And ADA sidewalk improvements.
Is that the little things on the corner?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty visible.
Yes. Community band, we already did the gazebo railing repair. We did talk about the need to address the drainage at bottom, around the bottom. We talked about the Grandma Moses mural repair and the Jose de Treft sculpture repair. Local organizations had some asks, Armory, Civic Care Youth Center, Hoosick Rising, and then we talked about the possibility of Jackson and Kelly Street improvements. And I have some more notes down here for us, but I did want to make sure that we could be equipped to talk through other things we've seen before. So again, trustees, I emailed this to you out today. And I know we had talked about where our debt situation was in that April meeting, and I included that just so you have that there as well. All right. So that's available if we discuss ARPA stuff later today.
Does that also include in that list the possibility of doing the downtown revitalization grant?
That was not on the list, but I know we've talked about it, so there's no problem in adding that. That's easy. I kind of wanted I wanted to have a rolling list, and I don't know if Bobby Decker had a rolling list, something updated, but I knew I'd been keeping track, so I just kind of wanted to formalize it and get it out to everybody.
Yeah, if that doesn't happen pretty soon, and we don't get the ball rolling, we're not going to make the deadline for 2023. We're going to miss that one too.
I think we need to get that underway. I guess maybe it's a subject for later on here.
All right. So going back to the projects that I threw out as possibilities, are you guys okay with me looking into and getting quotes on these modifications, contractors to look at these items?
Just quotes, right?
Yep, just quotes.
Couldn't hurt.
All right, great, thank you.
Can I just interject on one thing? With
Sure.
The bathroom project for the police department?
Yeah.
I know, I haven't talked to anyone there, but I know they had brought up something to do with, another holding cell or something, if it was a juvenile processing area or something. It was a while ago. I didn't know if that was something that's still needed.
Oh, it's definitely needed.
I mean, so is the bathroom more important than that? Maybe that needs to be worked out as far as what we're doing all of.
Is that holding center something that could go in downstairs in the processing room?
I thought you were talking about downstairs, right, Paul?
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you're
what
talking about.
we put it right back where the old cells were.
Okay. Right, sorry.
That sounds like more quotes we need to get in
Okay.
as we look ahead to this. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Anything else, guys? All right, I'm gonna move to the people to be heard section. As a reminder, when we call upon you, you have to start with your full name and street address. If you're online, I will try to see if I can get you in. Just give us a holler that you want to be involved. Share or speak to what you would like to discuss. I typically set I'll set kind of a 3-minute, I'll say 4-minute limit, because I know we have a lot to do tonight. And then, as a reminder, we record these. They're on Facebook. I digitally save them, and I have an audio recording for better quality as well. Can I get an idea of who would like to speak tonight? 1, 2. All right. Anybody online?
Yes, Rob, I have raised my hand.
All right. Marion, I'm going to start with people in, and then I'll come back to you. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you go first? Sandy.
Sandy Gabriel, 6 First Street, here in the village.
I owe you some phone calls.
I did, I tried contacting you 3 times over the past 2 years.
I'm sorry about that.
I never got any response. A lot of people know that I'm having trouble with my neighbors in number 12. I put up a chain link fence, and I've had numerous officers over there because they're encroaching in my yard, and things have been coming under control. I cannot seem to book a chain link fence company to put in for me because they will not remove a non-customer's belongings in order to put in the fence. What my situation is, I have 2 in the back of the pickup truck, toolboxes filled with tools that are overhanging, and they're being difficult. They don't like the size of the yard. They've been trying to obtain a little minor. They're not understandable because mine's a double lock, triple lock, what have you, and they have a small child. But they're making it nearly impossible for me to get a fence company out there to do the estimate, because I will not put it down knowing they can't remove. They're being impossible. I don't know what to do.
You talk, Mark.
If I may,
Yes.
I think it's a little unfair that Sandy's taking up the board's time with this complaint when I'm actively working on it. I talked to her yesterday, and she knows that I'm actively working on it. I've been over there. I've talked to both her and the neighbor. It is an issue. She can get an estimate. There's no problem getting an estimate, even though it's not actually putting up a fence. She can get the estimate, but I'm actively working on it. She knows that, so I don't.
I do, and I thank you so much. You've got much better things to do.
And Sandy, I'm sorry. I
want to be able to erect the fence and get it behind me. This has been going on 1.5 years. We were close.
Not in my court, it hasn't.
No.
It's been going on for maybe a month.
Started blowing out of proportion because we've got anger issues over there, and I just need to. There's no one. I can't book anybody now. It's all the way into October, November at this point.
Yeah, check with this, there's a new company in Hoosick Falls, I believe, and it's called Falls Fence and Landscape. I've seen it on Facebook. I don't know.
Really?
I would guess that the companies that won't move your neighbor's stuff out of your yard, won't touch your neighbor's stuff, it's probably an insurance thing.
So,
Of course, they're not allowed to place a heavy back in the truck toolbox filled with tools, 2 of them involved. I've actually had to pay my lawn cutting guy to remove the picnic table, and then they pitched a fit, and because I was told by the good officers, that's what I did, marked it. I've got letters and paperwork, it's crazy.
I'm sorry I've not gotten back to you. I started off the week with about 6 or 7 things I was really behind on. I got through half. Yours is one of my next 2 that I'm handling later this week, but I did start to have some conversations internally to figure out, is this like a property line dispute? If they have stuff that's obviously on your property, is that like a law enforcement thing or a code enforcement thing? But
they're making it into, which it was never.
Alright, so again, my apologies for not getting back to you this week. I know you recently left one, I think Friday, right before the weekend was the most recent one.
That was my most recent.
So my apologies, and I'm gonna be in touch in the next day or two, and I'm sorry about that.
I appreciate it, I just don't know what to do, I'm at a loss.
Alright, thank you, Sandy.
I just looked up a number for you if you want it for that.
I will try to find a pen, thank you. Anything, false, fence?
No, the one Kevin was referencing was false fence.
Awesome, I appreciate it.
You just,
51795 778.
you wanted to go next?
Yes.
7,
Oh, sorry, 1 second. You guys, all good? Okay, all good, that's fine. I'm sorry, sir, take it away.
Kenneth Bell, on Waldron Ave, here to address a water bill issue.
Okay?
So, I recently acquired one Waldron. We had some fines to come after I had the water meter installed in the beginning. We got the meter installed. We got she adjusted the fine, which was awesome. Denise done a great job. And I recently just got my tax bill for 2022. It shows a re-levy on there for $8,700 in water usage. Just wondering how we came about that. As I said earlier, your property's been refinanced and all bills have been paid. So I have copies of everything right here. You guys can-
What did the village office say where those came from?
I'm not sure, I don't recall.
Bobby?
Well, this is the abstract you sent me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, it's re-levy of the 8784.62, which is on your rent, your tax bill, but the water bill is re-levied, and that's 8784.62. And that's, correct me if I'm wrong, there's re-levies are for penalties, and you actually started out, you bought it in 2020, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you started with a balance of $2,079.16 when you purchased the property. According to the tax.
Everything zeroed out was paid by the asset holdings company. I have copies of all the checks right here. I got everything.
Last we spoke, I had said that if you had payments to bring them in, we would look at them, but.
Yeah, I just acquired everything right here. So.
Okay. Well, so why don't we do that? If you've got everything to give to Denise, I mean, really, until we get those in.
I can forward emails to everybody here so they can review, and then we can come back around to it, but I just wanted to-
At this point, there's no reason to, include board yet until we get the full situation figured out with the office.
It's responsibility to take care of it. It's not
Yeah.
yours.
Somehow, the county has copies, but
Well, this is the county, this is from the extract from the county, and it shows her.
No, that's our lease.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's our, okay, but this shows it was a starting balance of $2079.16, but it doesn't show any payment on this abstract.
But at the bottom here, it also shows the totals. When you go on the water bill site, it shows the total of $358.
Because there's a re-levy line in there that's the piece that went on your
The
property.
water bill
tax
would
bill.
show the re-levy though.
I'm sorry?
The water bill should show the re-levy, because you can't pay a minimum. You have to pay the total amount due.
You can no longer pay that as a water, it's now part of your tax bill.
Once it gets re-levied, you can no longer pay the village, you can't pay
But
as
see,
a water.
that's the thing though. Last year when I went in to go pay, there was no re-levies on anything. So how did $8,700 get re-levied in 2022, but it wasn't re-levied in 2021?
Governor Cuomo did not allow us to re-levy water last year.
So how are you supposed to pay things adequately if that's how we're doing things?
We didn't like it either, believe me.
Who makes these decisions?
That one was Governor Cuomo.
That's the governor.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So,
It's not user friendly at all.
And it puts us as the bad guys in the bad situation, and it's more inconvenient for you guys. Yeah, we know.
Well, one thing I would is, since I've been on.
so that's the total.
County,
Right.
Right, those three up there.
No.
So, yeah, I know Denise and Bobby were talking through this to get understanding of that. If you can come by the village office and drop off those other documents,
Absolutely.
and we'll continue to work through and figure out what's going on and where things are coming from. Once re-levies happens, it's all super confusing.
Awesome, and just so you guys know, I'm not here to bust anybody's balls. If there's a solution to the problem, I can help bring a solution.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
Ken, you can email that to Denise and to me, and all the receipts you have,
Okay.
and then we can.
Or just stop by in the office and we can make copies.
I don't actually physically have the receipts. The only thing I have is copies from.
Oh, no, that's all. You don't need the physical.
Yep.
And title company, that's it.
You have an email.
Yep.
It's a document that shows what's been paid, that's all we need.
Okay.
Awesome.
But you're
Thank
talking
you.
about only the oldest one when you purchased the property, right?
Oh, no, I'm talking about purchase plus refinance in the middle of the year, last year.
Okay.
And it shows all the support back.
Yeah, you can bring it back, Brandon. We'll make copies so that we have them as well if you're comfortable with that. Great. Thank you, Ken.
No problem.
You have my email, right, Ken?
Yes.
All right.
I'm not sure if I got.
Oh,
I'll forward it to you.
yeah, I can text it to you.
All right.
You got my phone number, so you can, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Marion, take it away.
Okay, back to the same old question. Anything decided about brush removal? I had noticed that, village was actually cutting down brush this past week and, of course, removing it when they cut it down, so when are they going to take care of people beyond their needs?
As we have talked about in the past, we do normal brush removal and culverts and things like that as part of our normal schedule. We have talked about in the past, we have not as a board made a formal decision on moving forward with it with various levels of interest, but nothing yet.
So, when can I expect a decision? I've been asking this question since October.
I don't know, Marion. I think sometimes no decision could be a decision, but if the board decides to implement one, it will depend on when the next season is that we could fit it in and how it fits into the schedule.
And we can afford it.
And of course the cost of it.
If I just point out too, sometimes
And
when
budget.
she may see the village working on something,
Sorry, Mark, say that again?
sometimes when she sees the village working on something, like they worked on a property for me this week, that's something that we will be billing the property owner, because the property owner wasn't responding. And normally I would hire like a landscaping company, but in this particular case, because of the size of the trees and stuff, I asked Neil and his guys to take care of it, which they did.
Marion, I don't know if you heard that, but the quick version is sometimes we have property owners who aren't doing what they're supposed to, so Mark asked the village to take care of it, and that becomes an expense that they are charged.
The property owner's charged.
So, anything else, Marion?
No, I don't like something done for the residents.
All right, thank you, Marion.
I think as it gets closer, I think we should talk about having one in the springtime, I think we discussed that.
Yes,
Some agreement on that.
yes.
It's gotta be early spring, that's the problem, because it's gotta be,
But we can't wait till March and say, oh, let's do one in April.
No, what we gotta do it, we can't do it in May.
Right.
That's what the issue was, because we got brought up
But
in April.
what Kevin's saying is we
No,
gotta
yeah,
decide
I agree.
sooner rather than later so we
Yeah.
can get the word out so they know when it's gonna be.
And it needs to be done in an organized way, broken down by wards or whatever.
Yep, organized, very clear and concise because people will be throwing out everything they can possibly think of and that sort of thing.
I think part of it, not just the labor cost of it, but part of it is I think you got to price in at least a rental chipper, because to move any volume of sticks, it's gonna fill up the truck quickly with not a lot of stuff. And I think it'd be exponentially cheaper to just chip it all, just keep feeding them. That's what they do in a lot of places. It's just a lot of time and a lot of effort running that stuff down.
Anybody else to be heard?
All right, is there anyone else who needs to be heard either for this or the public hearing that we still have running?
Yes.
Yes.
I made a mistake because the Burdick family next to me, they are trying to make it into a property dispute. I mean, line, because I overheard John say he wants to get surveyed. Our
Okay.
surveys are up to date.
Okay.
And that bad things are gonna happen.
You have an up-to-date survey?
Well, I've got the map that is from, when they moved in, which was 27.
I would defer to Mark on if that counts as an official survey. Because,
I did, I actually.
I have information.
all right, thank you, Sandy.
Close the public hearing?
All right,
Thank you.
yep, yep. Hearing there's no other people who want to speak, I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing regarding 59 Church Street.
So moved.
Oh, I'm sorry, I hear someone like to speak. Dan, is this about the public hearing?
It's not about the public hearing.
Alright, give me 1 second, Dan. Let me finish this off and I'll go to you, Dan. Thank you. So the motion is second and... Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Alright, carries. The public hearing is closed. Dan, take it away. Sorry.
Hi, Dan Musa, 4 Abbott Street. I just wanted to ask about the status of any potential noise law, and what could be expected or as like the next steps in that regard.
Still under review and creation at this point, so we're still looking into it.
If I could just jump in.
Dan, yeah, sorry, Dan.
Just really quick, Andy.
Speak really loud.
The draft to be looked at. I sent Andy the draft to be looked at. There's some things that gotta be worked out there. Bobby's not here tonight, but Bobby and I, Decker and I were talking, and I thought that Jason buying in this was gonna come in tonight. He had some concerns about how it would affect his business. So one of the things that I would assume everybody's on board with perhaps is making sure that we specifically carve out. There's some businesses that are in the business of entertainment, right? Jason and the Sandbar and stuff. So we need to make sure that if we move on anything like that, that we're specifically carving these businesses out. We're not out to interfere with anybody's rights to be in the entertainment industry. As a matter of fact, I think it's very beneficial to there's a lot of the things that are coming in and stuff. So there's more work to be done.
Okay. Do you hear that, Dan?
The audio is really bad. I made a suggestion in the chat for spending on the ARPA funds. We could get more microphones, better audio equipment for the board meetings. That would be great.
Yep, we've talked about that as well. And a new location.
Dan, if you couldn't hear me, he has my number. Just call me.
Call Dan Shuttig if you didn't hear him.
All right.
Thanks, Dan. And Dan. All right. Moving on. Reports. Officer Alexonis, take it away.
Everybody's got the report. We had 7 arrests in June, 4 juvenile arrests, 2 were for assault, and 2 were for the graffiti on River Street Bridge. The juveniles have been referred to Rensselaer County Probation. The vehicles are relatively in good shape. We had a couple of minor issues, a couple of them we have fixed. The department, we participated in the Hoosick Fire Department and North Hoosick Fire Department's anniversary parade, and the event held on Sunday. There was a pretty good turnout, and everything relatively went really good. It was a big crowd. Another thing we're doing, Saturday we interviewed 2 candidates for the police academy. It starts at the end of July, and we're interviewing 2 more tomorrow night. We're looking to see if we can get anywhere between 2 and 4 candidates into the academy, which is going to be about a 6 or 7 month academy. And I don't know, Mayor, if you've got anything more to talk about with that. And we have Jasmine Salgado. She's attending Bryant and Stratton in Albany. She's looking at intern with the police department in August. I gave the agreement, a copy of the agreement to the mayor for him to review. So she's looking forward to riding with the police department for a while. Other than that, I don't have anything else. We have all the calls that we answered for the month.
Yeah, so, and just to reiterate on my reports, I forgot to, in the grid, fill in the 7 arrests, and we're up to 33 for the year, so my apologies on that. Yeah, we had 2 good interviews, and we got 2 more on Wednesday, which is why we're looking to schedule a meeting next week to have the board, since it's not only a decision on spending by sending them to the academy, but it's also in a sense a hiring, as per if they finish academy, they'll immediately be able to function as police officers, work for us, go through all the various training and ride-alongs as they need to. That's what we're looking for, is one of the big things about having a special meeting next week.
Applications that they filled out for this?
They have given us resumes. Bobby and I were in the meeting along with Officer Alexonis and Officer Hudson.
Being on the police committee, can I get a copy of that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you want to be there for the Wednesday interviews as well?
No, I can't
Okay. Okay.
Rob, you said that it's stuck in the, is that the only issue is the police?
No, we have the B&L closeout documents if we can, but it's not pressing. But we don't have to have it on Tuesday next week, we can choose a time next week.
No, just because the only reason I ask is I'm not gonna involve myself, obviously, because my.
Right.
With ranking by police officer, so if that was the only issue, I'm not gonna go, but if there's other things.
We already have a list of like 3 things that'll
The
probably
leachate.
come up.
Yeah.
The
If we do those
leachate.
first, then I'll jet.
Yes, we're hoping that Tuesday works because Tuesday is when Mark Millspaw from Environmental Sterling is Sterling Environmental, is available to talk more detail on the leachate landfill situation. But yes. Any other questions for Paul?
Yeah, Paul, just a quick question. There's village patrol assisted 24 times outside the village in the last month. So just to understand that, the village only goes outside when asked, correct?
Right, but we're requested to go.
By dispatch, right?
By dispatch,
Okay. Okay. So we don't go outside unless you're pursuing someone from the village outside.
Right, the only time we go out is for request.
Okay, thank you.
Paul, can you take a look, I don't know about it, last meeting, there's cars parked down in the lower church parking lot, and 3 of the cars, at least 3 or 4, are unregistered. And last weekend, the place was packed, and there was cars parked all over the place down there. There was not enough parking for.
It's like that every night, Kevin.
Using the greenway.
It's like that every night.
So, rather than go through a parking study, can we take Lower Classic Street and take the signs out that say no overnight parking, so it alleviates that? It's more of a question from Andy than you.
That would require local law change to take those signs out, right?
They're not state signs, they're village.
You're talking Lower Classic, right, Kevin?
Right.
Right,
And
so,
the signs are on both sides of the street, so nobody can park there overnight.
so there's a local law dealing with the village-owned parking lots. Is this the village-owned parking lot?
No, it's a street.
No, it's street.
It's street parking.
Change that parking regulation would require local law.
I mean, that would give you, all these cars that are parked down the lot are from the apartments above on the street where there isn't parking overnight.
Okay.
So it's causing a problem down there.
And
3 of the cars.
at nighttime, it's not an issue.
Well, they shouldn't be parked, if there are local laws that prohibits cars that aren't registered to front parking there.
No, that's what I was gonna say, but right, but I mean, that Lower Classic being allowing those people to park there is not a through traffic issue during the nighttime, because that gets a lot of activity during the day, but not at nighttime.
Actually, I think there should be a no parking from here to corner at the end, because if cars park all the way down, it causes
A corner, you can't make the corner, yeah. From either side, you can't make the corner.
yeah,
It's like the lower spot, the last spot in the end.
right.
Alright.
I have just a question about leaving the village on the police stuff. Why, I understand things are an emergency, there's a person pointing a gun at somebody, but why would we be going to animal complaints and stuff outside of the village?
Again, if we were requested, I don't know the specific complaints, I would have to look them up.
My only concern is that they don't pay for the police department, right? I have no issue with like a mutual aid situation, like if somebody's in distress or it's a true emergency, but I mean, property checks and all those kind of things, that seems like if they want that service, they want it quick, they should pay for it.
Well, I'm gonna say the reason was either it was relatively close to the village line, or it was a change of shift where they had no units available, or they were tied up. That would be the only reason we would bump or something like that.
And Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we go outside of the town because no one else is available, and then the proper jurisdiction shows up, whether it's sheriff or state police, while we're there, we hand it off to them and it's theirs, right?
Outside the village.
Outside the village.
We're just the first responder, correct, Paul?
Right.
But if you're having concerns about how much time we're spending being
Yeah, I
a
mean,
nice
I
guy.
understand if there's somebody calling and saying somebody's out front of my house, they're gonna kill me, or that, a child in distress or whatever. If we're gonna be running after, property checks, I mean, that to me seems a little bit ridiculous. If they want the service of a speedy police department, they can pay for it.
Who's they though? It's the county who's dispatching, not the town.
No, I know, but in my role of EMS, when people stop paying for things, other municipalities say, we're not gonna send you resources anymore, you're not gonna basically, you know, get a free ride. And there was 92 calls, it says, in the town, whatever it is here, and we're doing a quarter of them. I don't know, to me it seems like there should be some kind of reciprocal thing, if they're not getting, if they don't have a police department to send to the village to reciprocate service, then why are we sending, they don't wanna pay for it? I guess that's my concern.
Well, on the other hand too, you gotta remember, there have been times that the sheriffs and the troopers come in the village and help us out.
Right, but we pay for that through the county or the state tax.
I know, right, but it's kind of a,
It's a reciprocation of service.
Yeah.
In that sense, it is for the sheriff and the state police.
Well, that's what we're covering for. That's the thing, we don't decide, we as the village or the town doesn't decide who goes on these 24 calls. The dispatch center goes down at the jail.
Is that something part of the deal we made when we let the?
No, there is no deal. There is no deal. That's, we're the closest, if the county has their share, they're having 2 cars down in Sand Lake, and there's something going on in Hoosick, it's gonna be 35 minutes, them going Mach 1 up to 22 to get here. It's, you know, that's why we go. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's how I interpret it. And that's what I've always been told by the county, by number 1. I mean,
yeah, we go there and just hold the scene until they can send somebody up. And once they get up here, we have to come back to the village.
now I understand what you're saying though, because as far as, you know, I mean, it's our dime. It's our dime, I get what you're saying.
And they can pay for that, they don't want to, and I think that's
Well, no, we don't want to,
part of it.
who's they?
Yeah, I mean, there could be money, listen, if you want to.
That's
The
a
town,
different
like, at
discussion.
least-
I'm not laughing at the notion, I'm laughing because I remember hearing these same discussions many years ago, even before I was mayor.
No, I know.
The age-old question.
We ran into this problem in my industry, and eventually some towns got to, but they just wouldn't fund their own service because they knew that the county would dispatch this one, and so they said, what do we care, we're gonna call so-and-so, and they got to the point where they're like, not available for the town or whatever, because it just.
I would just caution members of the board to be careful about the attitude toward the town. Town's more than willing to work with anybody, and I just caution the attitude because we've never asked and we've never said that we would never pay, you know, for services rendered. It is just as Bobby described, you know, it's not, and so when Dan refers that to the town in a negative light, I don't appreciate that. But I think this isn't the forum for this discussion, but I'm perfectly willing to have a discussion.
Alright. Thank you. Town Supervisor Sudan.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You have a question, Neil, or are you stretching back there?
No, you know, I kind of look at it as part of shared service. You know, like we help the town highway, we can go help other highway departments, you know. Oh, sure.
Shared
It's
services.
not always a constant thing, but it's just a help out when needed.
Yeah, and there are a lot of shared service agreements on the book between the village and the town, between the village and the county, and town, there's a lot of those on the books.
You know, maybe there should be some type of agreement brought up with the state police and sheriffs.
Maybe there's some kind of funding available from the state police, or the sheriff's office, because, look, you make a place like the town of Brunswick keep expanding their tax base with more and more stores, and it's putting a burden on the police, the sheriff, and the state police. They're getting a lot of calls for retail theft. Meanwhile, we pay for police services quite a bit of money for a small community, while they pay nothing other than what, you know, the normal taxes to cover their territory.
Alright, so we'll ask the town of Brunswick to fund us. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not making light of this. This is a hard discussion.
I believe Brunswick, one of them said they weren't going to Walmart anymore, didn't they? Wasn't that a thing?
Wow.
Well, that was the former DA said they
Oh, is that what it was? Because Walmart was like every day.
Wow. Kevin, do you have something else?
Yeah, I was curious about the police at the town court. I was down there a couple weeks ago. Do we get compensated? They're having our police officers here?
guess.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
We have an agreement.
That is an agreement.
There's an agreement. It's been an agreement for quite a while. I know that.
I'm just checking to see if we're so stretched on our police officers, and there was 2 of them there, and wondered why. And
And it probably depends on what type of case it is too, Mark, right?
Well, it's a definite safety issue,
Right.
you know, so, yeah, that's not, as far as, I mean, I think the police department has to send us a bill, I don't think, in which they do, and we pay it.
We'll be sending you a 6-figure bill soon then. Any other questions for Paul?
No.
Looking for a motion to approve the police report?
Motion.
Second?
Second, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Hearing none, carries. Thank you, Paul. Code enforcement's up next, Mark.
My report is there, I don't know if anybody has any questions, there's a lot going on. Some of the, I've been trying to get to some of the bigger cases, I still haven't gotten to. The home business cases are a little bit bigger, and I haven't gotten to, there's a couple of them.
Nice to see 4 court cases closing out.
Yes. Nice
That's
to see
great.
Amy,
That's great.
Yeah, I think Andy would agree, it's nice to see that we finally do this.
Yeah, I like to see the fact that we collect fines.
Yes, that was very nice to see.
Bobby, we're making progress.
Yeah.
Mark's doing a great job.
Yeah?
Well, and, yeah, and I think some of that fines is direct about Andy keeps pushing the issue about the amount of work that goes into these cases before they get to court and even while they're at court, you know, and I think the judge is starting to hear that, so.
That's great. That's great. Thank you both.
Mark,
If anybody's got any questions,
Mark, I was down at the county finance office, I was checking a few properties. 167 Church Street has been an eternal problem for the village. They owe $36,000 in back taxes. It won't be coming up for auction until probably sometime next year.
it's crazy. That's the one we just cleaned up.
I said to them, I said, you know, can't they come up with some kind of a formula where after a year they don't make any kind of improvement on the property, that it comes back to the county for resale?
That might be something we need to do at the village level. The worst part of that is he bought that at the auction.
Wow. Andy, what is it that determines how many years it can collect back tax before it moves to the next step? Is that a county policy? Is it a law?
Not the law, it's the county
Okay.
administration of their tax foreclosure
Okay.
process.
And the county auctions are way behind. They figure
Yes.
sometime late in the fall, they should finally have the county auction.
When was the last county auction they had?
Last June, I think.
They had the one at 114 Church.
That was
Last June.
over a year
It was
ago.
June or August.
The one
last
that
summer.
was supposed to be on June 8th.
Yeah, it was last year.
That was last year,
That
June
was
8th.
last year.
They never took the sign down.
Oh, I looked at it and I didn't pay attention. I saw June 8th and I'm like, oh, perfect.
Yeah, no, that was last year.
And we spoke with the county. They're like, we hear you. We're moving.
I'm going to take that.
I know, I walk by it every day, I think the same thing.
Why does that go to the county, is that like the state law or something?
Yes.
Okay,
You're
off we
being
go.
told on taxes by the county.
So therefore, we have to auction to the county.
Well, by the county paying for the unpaid taxes and making the village whole, or the county that gathers the ability to recoup their payment. That's the way it works.
All right, trying to get the crosstalk down to a minimum so we can keep moving. Any other questions for Mark?
That 18 High Street, that was the one with the roof with the vent, right, on the hill?
Yes, and I think I haven't seen, they're supposed to be fixed now.
They were ripping it all, I mean, they were doing a lot of work in there. Which is the one I'm thinking of, right, on the left-hand side?
Yes, I want to see that.
The yellow one?
Oh, they tore the slit, it's the one I'm thinking of, they tore the slit, it's right across.
Is that recently they've been doing work? Or a while back?
3 weeks ago or something. Is it, are you talking about the one across from the old St. Mary's?
Yeah.
They had all the slate ripped off, if it's the one I'm thinking of, they had the whole back end.
But I wasn't aware of it, sorry.
Oh, I don't know, they had.
Did you get a permit there?
All right.
Looks like they were doing heavy duty, I mean, they looked like they had a lot.
They had to,
right?
they had to.
Yeah, the backside, right? Yeah.
Unless there's any other questions
I
for
got
Mark?
one quick question.
Yeah.
6-foot fence. Someone needs a permit to put up a 6-foot fence, correct?
Yes.
Correct, it has to be approved by the zoning.
Zoning.
4 foot is okay. 6 requires extra.
Anything higher than 4 is how the law.
Okay,
Okay.
I got it. I'll call you.
All Alright, looking for a motion, oh no.
Just last question, real quick, Mark, that 48 Classic Street, the foundation, is there anything, new with that?
48 classic?
If it's all.
Oh, the foundation.
Catania wall. It's
Not
like,
Nothing's new with that.
We have more discussion from Andy coming on that later in the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yep, yep. Alright, looking for a motion to approve the code enforcement report?
Motion.
Thank you, Deb.
Second.
Thank you, Bobby. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Alright, carries, thank you. Treasurer report, Denise, hi.
Give it to you.
We have it. Is there any questions you have for Denise? Hearing none, looking for motion.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Bobby.
Denise's report is presented.
Thank you, Megan. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Thank you, Denise. Village Clerk, Deputy Clerk report. Hi, Clerk, Deputy Clerk. Any questions for them? Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve. Thank you, Dan.
Second.
Second, Bobby. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any other ayes?
So, Marie, just one quick one, the update that you received, the 8 property transfers, so that means 8 properties sold during the month, okay?
not necessarily, yeah,
No.
probably in June.
So again, all in favor? I only had 2 responses. All in favor of approving? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Highway Department report. Bobby, anything you want to highlight?
Not really. Neil, I do have a question though, regarding the flood wall on the river. All the sumac used to be, before, used to all get cut down. Why, what's,
It gets cut down during the fall time,
in the fall, okay,
you know.
because I know it's,
And this year, DEC is making us go back to spraying things, so we're trying to find a contractor that can spray, but they gotta go by DEC rule.
Okay.
You post, advertise, but you put signage up when you spray.
especially how close it is to the river, right, yeah, I'm sure they got, okay.
So,
I just wondered, because I was going down
Yeah,
the
I just got an
greenway,
update
and
about a
the
storm.
sumacs are,
yeah, they're good.
they're pretty tall.
Yeah.
Neil, the brush grinder, I know that the brush grinding, how are we making out on that as far as, because we have the pile up there is,
Well, I put a call out to the second guy again today, and he has not responded, so.
Yeah, and he hasn't.
so Andy, how does that work if Neil's reached out to 3 different contractors to reduce the brush pile at the transfer station. He's only gotten 1 bid back. How long do we need to give the other 2 bidders or potential contractors time to get back to him?
Well,
He's
if
got 2
if
of
you
them, I know.
requested either bids or quotes, and that period of time has passed, and you've used good faith efforts, you've exhausted available remedies, that's what's required under the law.
Okay.
Go out and request the requisite number of bids or quotes. Make a good faith effort. If you don't get them, to get those numbers. If you can't get those numbers at some point, and there's no magic time frame, you need to move forward again.
Right, because like Neil said, he went back to the guy the second time. We don't have to keep going back.
No.
I mean,
No.
they have the opportunity. If they choose not to bid, they choose not to bid, but we give it to the one person. We
And then
can
the
give it to the one
record
person,
shows-
correct?
The record shows you make good faith efforts to obtain the requisite number of bids.
Okay.
You simply haven't gotten
I
those
got
funds
for
back.
next week.
So
You
Neil,
could, listen, you could go to the extent of then advertising for a couple of weeks. You could do that. You could put it in the paper just for a couple of weeks. You could do that. I don't know that it's legally required. You could do that. It's another evidence of good faith effort to obtain the bids. But at some point, you need to move forward with the bid or quote.
Neil, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, that being said, is that something we could address at the special meeting next week?
That's what I was
as
gonna
well?
say. Can we wait a week and do addressment next week?
You know, we can give them till Monday, if you don't want to come back.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the main thing.
We'll make sure we're ready for that next week. Thank you.
In library boxes, Neil, when you say going up shortly, when?
Well, we just found out today that they're painting them to make it look like a library.
Okay.
So that's gonna be put back till probably sometime in August now.
Okay, all right.
All right. I did did have a conversation with both Bill Gaylord and Neil about the way that the community band sets up the ramps up to the gazebo. Since we moved the replacement, the wall that comes off, we're gonna have to replace how they get their setup up there. He's got a big piece mounted on the back that he would clip his things into and then roll all the percussion equipment up. I think Neil, we talked about the possibility of simply removing the one flower box, which is unfortunate because if you're looking at the gazebo and the stairs in front of you, it's the first spot to the left. We could either mount in the existing hardware there and paint it to match so that he has a ramp going up to that spot.
Couldn't we put in a
Or we'd have to, what's that?
retractable railing on the back?
Or we could add the same setup in the back with a second retractable railing, which would just be an extra expense.
I think the issue was with the posts, the way they're set up, there's a post right in the middle of the back. So
Yeah.
that was one thing. He said it's easier to do it on the
side.
the
The
front
smaller
side.
side, because the smaller side has the support beams.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the opposite side of where the replacement one is now? What if we made that one exactly opposite, also between the two support beams, and moved that over for them? Would that work?
I don't know. You probably have to talk to Scott and see if you have any recommendations about that.
Okay, I'll add that to my projects that we're looking into. Because we're looking for some simple way. And Bill said, why did you do this? And I said, this is very easy. Our goal was to make the gazebo more friendly for the visiting artists to come in, and also support the community band. And we just didn't quite get the community band detail right because we didn't know.
Pass that on to Bobby Decker, he can take care of that.
I will do that.
He'll be back tomorrow, right back tonight, right?
Yes. Sometime tonight he gets back. All right.
Maybe not.
Any other questions for Neil? Hearing none and a lot of rain, I'm gonna move to approve the highway department report. Anybody? Motion. Thank you. Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Thank you. Sewer department report is next. Anything you guys want to note or ask questions about? Big month for gallons delivered.
I want to change the minutes.
What's that?
Good in.
I want to change the minutes.
Yes. All right. Hearing none. Looking for motion to approve the sewer department report. Thank you, Megan. Need a second? Thank you, Bobby. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. And water department reports. Anything you guys want to speak to or questions?
Talked to Jim today, I think we all know he's well and he's on the mend. It's unfortunate.
We're still good with certifications and everyone doing things, and he's still available to sign off things, but
Exactly, so he was fine with
Yep.
taking phone calls and all that.
yep.
Things will be out for 2 months.
Yeah, he said about
Well, we're starting to get into details we wouldn't discuss publicly,
Sorry.
even though he's probably told everyone and their sister,
Yeah.
but that's fine. Just
I
wanna,
wasn't gonna get into the interview, but just the time out.
Yeah, just the time out. We wish him well and we
Yep.
appreciate all the help that everyone's been giving him, so.
and he's bored, so send all of your paperwork to Jim Hurlberts. All right, and we do have to discuss the property up there. I'm just looking for a simple motion, but that's later in the meeting. Looking for motion to approve the water report. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Thank you. In digging myself out from the large chasm of being behind that I was in, I got about half of my stuff done, but one of the things I did not get done were the minutes. So next meeting, I'm going to get those random minutes that have been sitting around since December to you guys for approval. I'm sorry about that. But we do have the June 14th regular meeting minutes and the July 5th. We'll just talk about the June 14th regular meeting minutes. Is there anything that needs to be changed, adjusted, altered? Deb altered? No, just kidding. Looking for a motion to approve the June 14th regular meeting minutes. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Megan. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. And also the July 5th special meeting minutes. Anything needs to be adjusted? No. All right, looking for motion to approve. Thank you, Dan. Looking for a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Bobby. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions? Carries. Trustee committee reports. We can go right from Deb across. So Deb, why don't you start? Anything for us? Trustee committee reports. Anything you want to report?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I started to talk with Denise and with Mark about possibly getting some money from the town to help us cover costs at the transfer station because so many town people use it. That's as far as we got, is to look into what's what and what they've done in the past, what we've done in the past, and what we could do going forward. Probably at some point be going to a town board meeting and, maybe a presentation.
Before we go to a town board meeting, we should reach out to the town board and have a sit down.
Mark
No,
told me to come.
If I see him.
We have, and I've mentioned it to the board, they know this coming.
Okay.
So it just needs to be, thought out.
I have another thought on something I wanted to share with you guys, but I'll talk to you as the town supervisor later.
Well, we can figure that out. Kevin just said we should maybe, the people who use it should pay more. They're already paying more for permits, so.
Talking about town residents or village residents?
A lot of people pay at their house for pickup individually, where some people actually drop their garbage off.
Yeah, I know, they post on Facebook, hey, this is the cheapest place to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, again, it's not like with the water, it's not about making a profit, it's about making it.
Covering costs,
Yeah.
which we historically have not done. Yes.
Cover costs, and if it's cheaper for town people to drop their garbage off than it is for village residents to be paying for the garbage service, but no, that should be okay. It should be an equity thing.
That makes sense. Thank you. Anything else, Deb?
Nope.
Kevin?
Nothing.
All right. Megan? Dan? Bobby? You don't have to say anything, Denise. All right. All right, great. Moving on to old business.
Yeah. So
Andy, this was requested to have an update on the status of the sidewalk safety issue along Placid Street and Route 22. Board, I did send in one of my email documents, I think it was document number 8, an email discussion that Andy had with us in the past, just as a refresher. But Andy, if you want to take it away. I'm sorry.
It's great timing. Yep. Okay, I did send around the email at the end of May regarding this property and issues under the eminent domain procedure law and potential alternate way to address the situation. I'm going to repeat that memo does provide legal advice. It is marked privileged and confidential. It's been provided to the board. It should remain confidential. I won't go into the detail of it. Other than very generally, as I understand the situation, it is a safety issue on one portion of this property adjacent to 22 with regard to the sidewalk. Understand? That does raise an issue, as I've stated to you, of whether taking the parcel would be constituting a public need or a public project under the eminent domain procedure. I've been advised that there's potentially another use of the property in relation to the river, something that may have been discussed and included in the village's comprehensive plan. If the board as a whole wants to go in that direction, that recasts the issue and redefines what the public need or the public project would be. And that can be done, okay? That's different than what had previously been discussed, which was addressing the specific safety issue of the slope not being maintained and creating a safety issue with the sidewalk adjacent to 22.
Well, they were fixing the sidewalk and fixing the hill,
Yeah.
or the cliff, or whatever it is now. That's not a public project.
No, understand the concept of a taking of private property under eminent domain is you're taking title to the property. Okay? the village will own the property thereafter. If the only issue is, and for lack of a better phrase, the limited immediate need to address a safety issue, once that's done, what's the ongoing public need or public
It
project?
has to be something ongoing.
Well, you take property for a public use. I'll give you this example.
Public use, that's a keyword.
We did take, the eminent domain procedure law has specific definitions. A public project, public need, okay? It's defined. There are cases and opinions that go through that. One issue I identified is, this is, it can be described as I think, a limited immediate public safety issue. That there can be a fix for it. And once that's done, the safety issue goes away. Does that constitute a need to take the title to the entire parcel? And if that's not the case, you want to take part of the parcel, well, I guess we could do that, but then the question becomes, what's the ongoing need of the village to own that property to take title to it? If there is an alternate plan for river access that was discussed in your comp plan, this can be recast as that public project, that public need, and taking title for a public purpose.
So we couldn't take it, fix it, and then sell it to somebody else.
No, that's not what the eminent domain procedure was. It's not really taking property that turned profit, like you're flipping it. That this is really taking title of property for a public need. That's why I indicated to you, at least on the immediate safety issue, there's an alternative way to address this. I'm going to hand out to you, we have drafted a local law, at least for your consideration. I described it in my email to you. The village, you did this tonight regarding the unsafe structure, regarding the roof issue. Your village local law dealing with unsafe buildings and structures is in fact limited to buildings and structures. Many other municipalities have a more expansive unsafe local law, and it addresses buildings, structures, and sites. If there is an unsafe site, and it's determined through the code enforcement officer, supported by the record, that this constitutes or may become an unsafe condition, whether it's occupied or vacant, then there's the opportunity to go through the same process you did with unsafe structures in the past and the one you do tonight. It could be identified as an immediate safety issue, go through the process, and what I've done here in this local law, which I'll hand out to you for your review. You can take a look at that and see if it's something you're comfortable with. In my opinion, cleans up the process you've been using, as opposed to what's there currently in your 2008 local law. It brings it up to date. I think it protects the village better in terms of recouping the expenses. There's more public notice of this. And if it's expanded to an unsafe site, then this issue could be addressed through that kind of unsafe building structure or site. This is marked draft. You can take a look at that. I'm not going to step through it tonight. This is something for your consideration. It would propose to repeal your 2008 law and replace it in its entirety with something that would address structures, buildings, and sites. So that's one option for you. And if you do want to recast this to take the entirety of the parcel and maybe an adjacent parcel that's got river frontage, because it's something described in your town plan, it's more of a long-term public project that has a public benefit, that can be done. It's just recast, and we'll go in that direction.
As Andy said that there was two comprehensive plans that those came up with.
Both copy of the 2008 one, it's not available anywhere online.
Shoot us an email, we can get that to you. Which 2008, well, this is the unsafe structure one?
2008.
Just at the end of this, give me your email, I'll get that to you.
Kevin?
There was two comprehensive plans that had basically the same information and same request to have a river landing walkway from Tenniel property down to the river. And also, Mr. Tenniel owns part of the Hoosick River Greenway, so if he wanted to, he'd come down and block off our access to the greenway. It starts almost at the end of our parking lot and goes all the way down to behind his property, but he owns that cover. That and, I mean, our comprehensive plan definitely outlines this area as a resource for the community.
Are you sure when the greenway wasn't established, there wasn't a right of way or something on that?
There is a right of way on the top part, but that's for the residents of the properties on top. The lower greenway part is still Catania's property.
At the end of the parking lot where you go,
Andy, I have a
you step off the parking lot onto the greenway.
sewer
that's-
easements, do you want to throw it up there?
Property.
Okay.
And how did they ever build the greenways, do the greenway without,
I think
Not
they,
right.
what's that?
I think they just
Easement
did.
or something.
I think they just did it.
No, they didn't, that's what I'm asking. How could they even do that?
So again, if I can address the immediate safety issue, I think the use of eminent domain to address that does raise some potential legal issues that the property owner could raise, whether that constitutes an appropriate public use or public project under the eminent domain procedure law. An alternate way to address and resolve the safety issue is by amending your local law dealing with unsafe buildings or structures to add unsafe sites. And that's proposed in front of you. Review that. If that's something that you'd like to do, we could go through the local law adoption process. We do have the environmental assessment form, the short form already prepared for that if you want to move forward. That is ready to be introduced. If there's a larger project that the village does want to undertake eminent domain to acquire title to the property for that kind of public project, that can be advanced. Yeah, there's those parcels. That can be advanced. We'll just need to get that record put together to show that it is a public project and a public need. Again, very briefly, the process would be a determination that this would constitute a public use or a public project. The village board's intent to move forward. You would get an appraisal to get the value of the property. You'd enter into good faith negotiations to purchase. If those are not successful after a period of time, you move forward, if you choose to, and undertake adoption of an order to acquire title through eminent domain, and then you commence litigation in court. When the litigation is commenced, title is obtained in fairly short order. That's really at the preliminary part of the case. The balance of the case is all about value and valuation.
This local law, I think, is going to be really important to move on regardless of if we go the other route as well. So I think it would be really behoove us to review this week. I mean, is it something we could even introduce at the special meeting?
Correct.
And set up a public hearing at the next regular meeting?
Correct.
So if we can review this week and get moving on this, we can move on this immediately, introduce it next week at the special meeting, and have our public hearing on it in August. Which means, if everyone is good with it, we could actually, the fastest possible track would be approved in that meeting after the public hearing.
There's one, it does track your current local law. It has some different procedure. It's very similar, but there are some changes. One of the big changes you'll read in there is the order that you did adopt directing the owner to complete the repair. This is on 59 Church. Under your current local law, that's just served on the owner and posted on the site, on the building. This local law also would have the village take that order and record it in the county clerk's office. So it's a matter of public record with the title. And if you do need to move forward and undertake the expense to complete the repair or the removal of the unsafe condition, that's just another level of everyone having been on public notice that this was a process the village was undertaking, and it helps when you go to recoup that expense through re-levy. Yeah.
So and please make a note of this, I will send out, I'll get this email from you, this document, we can send this out, and I can also send out the original 2008, which was this would repeal, so we can review that if we need to, and of course I'll be sending it to you as well. And the second thing is, because we were talking about this map I have up on the screen, this is an old map from an older time, but I believe it is still accurate. The parking lot by the Greenway is where it says Village of Hoosick Falls. The red is the property that Kevin was referring to, that we think is owned by Catania. 15, 14, and 13 in the yellow are the empty lots. I think 14 is specifically the one where the sidewalk issue is. It's in the middle of that gap. Building 16 is Bistro 42, 17 is Doug's Oil. 18.2 is the empty lot, and 18.1 is whatever that building is by the corner of the parking lot.
Used to be Sleeves on the
So that just because I know we had talked about that before, and to be able to come up, I want to show you that.
44, 48, and 54. Classic.
classic.
Yeah,
Okay.
48.
Okay. So yeah, I just want to show you that, so I know we're talking about that. All right. Anything else? I know we're definitely looking to move on this new local law. Thank you, Andy. Anything else you guys want to ask Andy about this? All right. Thank you, Andy. Let me get back to my PowerPoint here. All right, new business. The first item for new business is bringing up something that was something as a board, the majority voted down previously. And as I said in the email, this is something that I didn't really get enough documents out to you and enough answers out to you early. Denise was as available as she could be, but I didn't give her any heads up on it. So procedurally, Andy, I think to bring up something we had discussed previously, although we do have an amended bond resolution, but I think
Amended.
procedurally, what do we have to do to make sure this can come up? Or
Right, so the first order of procedure would be a motion for reconsideration, to reconsider the matter that had previously been decided at the last meeting. That is procedurally appropriate. If that motion is to be made, it does need to be made by someone who was in the majority of the action taken. So in other words,
Someone who voted no.
someone who voted no. They have to make that motion to reconsider, and if that does carry, then you can proceed to deliberate further on the amended bond resolution. Really briefly, why that is appropriate. At your organizational meeting, first of all, the village law does identify that the Board of Trustees sets the procedure for your board meetings. That's in the village law. You did so at your organizational meeting this past April, identifying Robert's Rules of Order. And under Robert's Rules of Order, it's appropriate for first a motion for reconsideration, and if that's approved, then you can move forward to reconsider the prior action. The fact that this is occurring at the next board meeting within the same overall session of this currently constituted Board of Trustees does make it compliant with Robert's Rules. Enough of that.
thank you, Andy. So if we want to rediscuss this, we would need a motion to reconsider from anyone who voted no, which
I will make that motion. I know I voted no.
okay. Would someone like to second to further discuss this?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. We need to vote on the motion to
Yes.
reconsider. This is a motion to reconsider discussing the bond resolution for the purchase of a sewer back truck. Further discussion on this? All in favor of bringing it up to reconsider?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions?
No.
Is that a no vote or
No.
no opposition or no vote?
No vote.
Okay, sorry. All right, okay. All right, so it does pass. Thank you, Denise. I know that we had talked about you would want to bring this back up to further explain this a little bit. I do have the documents if you need to refer to them. Can I turn this over to you for a little more explanation and more
Sure.
Q&A from the
I
board
don't
on how this works?
I don't believe I'll need the documentation.
Okay.
I did bring it as well, but the sewer back truck is the same issue that you voted on the last meeting. When it was originally, both of those borrowings were originally done through a 5-year bond anticipation note. You renew those once a year for 5 years. and then by law, in the third year of borrowing, you need to make a principal payment. So we did not make a principal payment the first year. We won't the second year. If we remain short-term financing, we will need to split that $109,000 by 3 years, which is gonna be about $36,000 that we will need to raise in the budget. When you do this amendatory bond resolution, it's just a few different steps that allows you, gives you the flexibility to repay that principal longer. The interest rate does change every time you renew, and I know right now everybody's kind of wondering what's gonna happen with that, but we can go long-term once this bond resolution is done at any point. And it does not lock you in if we make this a 15-year term payback. We don't have to do the 15-year. It is callable to the extent that if we have a wonderful windfall of money and we decide that we want to pay the principal back, you can do that. You can't just put $10,000 on the balance. You do need to pay it in full if the board made that decision to do so. But it's kind of almost a no-brainer. I mean, right now with things the way they are, you're looking at raising $36,000 in 3 years as opposed to, I think it's around $7,800
$36,000 per year for 3 years.
in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's pretty hefty.
It's a difference of 29,000 change annually. If
So why don't we do a 10-year rather than, why 15 years?
15 is the longest term you can repay that project, that kind of borrowing for.
So you can't do a 10-year.
You can pay it off in 10,
Right.
but you can't, right.
You could, you know.
So the minimum payment would be for 15 years, but if we decided to budget to pay it off in 10, that would be okay without penalty?
If you paid in full.
Pay in full.
Oh, paid in full, okay.
So we can't just pay more each year, we
Yeah.
have to call.
Right. And at that point, when you do the long-term financing, you would send the rate out to bid just like we do the short-term. And it would be fixed. You wouldn't be renewing it. You'd have an amortization schedule that outlined your payment and your interest. We all know that the budget hearing was not pretty this year. So with all the debt that we do have, I think it's very daunting to try to come up with $37,000
More.
more.
Right, that's where we're
Then-
talking, start from scratch.
I mean, I think it's financially a smart decision to not strap the village and be in that
It's
position.
like kicking the can down the road for the next administration, whoever's in.
No, I mean, it's a lot smaller payment. You know, it's not like we wanted to borrow any of this
Or
money.
if it goes
We
full
didn't
term,
do.
I mean, the truck might not be around in 15 years if.
It's true, but you know what? That's behind the gate now. We have it. So now it's trying to.
I mean, that's what I, you know, to be honest with you, I thought about that when we voted no, you know, the majority of us voted no because of that, but being, and talking to you today about it and having you explain it, it makes more sense because looking at the budget is like the Grim Reaper. More and more, you know, mandates keep coming at us, we gotta keep coming up with more money for this and that, and we're gonna be cash strapped as it is. It'd be a lot easier to find $7,500 or $7,800 a year than it's gonna be to find $36,000.
And our other projects are already based that way as well, the highway garage, the flood bans that want long-term. So it's not like, it's not something we don't normally do.
I just thought it was a small amount of money to carry over.
I thought the same thing, you're only talking 100 and something thousand,
I
right?
do agree with that, but I mean, but you're looking at
So,
3 years.
here's something I thought about. We bought an excavator to tear down houses with. Why wouldn't we sell that and put that money towards the back truck?
That's nothing that's up to me.
Well, I mean, that'd be a question for Neil. I know that we purchased it
Well, for
for multiple reasons, including initially it was gonna be tearing down houses before we realized that we were getting fewer properties and had the money to have something to do it. Neil, what do we use the excavator for? Neil, normal life, what do we use the excavator for?
You can use it for just about anything, you know, it's got extended reach, it's better for doing ditch work and stuff. You know, just so you can be out there on a hot day, or hot days on the blacktop with scrap. But, you know, we've assisted the town with it, you know. It's, you know, this morning I used stockpile gravel because the backhoe was out on the job and the loader was out on the job. And otherwise we would have gravel to hit back out to the pole barn.
Yeah, just think that
You know.
for a village our size, excavators are a luxury. Even a lot of construction companies lease their excavators or whatever they need when they need a certain piece of equipment.
Well, I think
Just something possible that I thought of.
no, and honestly, I know the three of us were talking today as we're kind of thinking already about next year's budget. We may have to make some hard decisions like that.
And she's talking about the Grim Reaper, and I'm just making a suggestion. So.
No, that's a fair suggestion to make, so.
To Kevin's point, I have 10 highway driving, like we work, none of them have an excavator like that, including villages.
That's not what you're trying to discuss right now.
Anything like that.
But I get what you're saying, but we're not, I mean, that's nothing to do with this. We're gonna put it up for sale, and we still have to make a decision about the financing on this.
So it's more of a long-term discussion
Right,
about budget
right.
next year, but we're hearing you guys.
Right,
Okay.
we can also to extend the ban, if I'm using the right terminology.
Yeah.
And then, but we can, and then if we do decide to sell the excavator, we can put that money towards
You can pay,
paying it out.
or God forbid, if St. Cobain, you know, and the company settle this, you know, we might be able to pay something too, so.
It'd be the best scenario.
I hope the microphone's picked up. I mean, just kidding.
With that. Yeah.
No, it's a good point.
All right, so,
One quick question.
yeah, sure.
If we bond the 109,271, I know we don't know what the interest rate's gonna be because it has to go out to bid, but what is the estimate on how much we're gonna pay in interest, or is there any kind of rough idea of what the total cost is gonna cost us?
The last, band renewal was at 3.95 per year. I mean, it's obviously gone up a little bit, but.
So 175,000 probably. 160,000, 170,000.
I haven't looked at it that long. I wouldn't think so, no, I mean.
I think the annual payment, because this was not for the full 180, it was full 109.
No, but we already paid
Down.
some of it, right?
You have
I have
estimated.
in my debt thing that it was an annual payment of 7,280.
Yeah.
That was the last thing we talked about. Is it down there too?
Estimated cost from
I mean, I would guesstimate we pay, even with that.
That was the
it's
cost
about
item,
1,800?
but the bond is being issued for that, and that's what we have to pay
Right.
back. Okay.
A month in interest,
No, a year.
a year interest.
Because
That's
we
like
did the
with the
band renewal
interest.
on
I haven't seen that that way.
650.
Okay.
My mind is not, I got too many figures going through it right now, but
Too many numbers.
yeah,
Denise,
I
right.
might be missing.
That's all right, I was just curious.
So I'm gonna read the resolution, in which case we'll need someone to offer it in a second, should we move on it. This is a resolution amending a bond resolution adopted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls, Rensselaer County, New York, in connection with the purchaser of a sewer back truck and enforce that village to extend the maximum maturity of bonds authorized to be issued beyond 5 years. We've talked through this, authorizing the issuance of 109,000
total.
bonds of said village to pay costs in connection
for
with the
the-
purchase of a sewer back truck and enforce that village at a maximum estimated cost of 189,271. Whereas such bond resolutions restricts the maximum maturity of the bonds to 5 years, and where it does now desire to remove such restriction and authorize the financing over the period of probable usefulness assigned thereto, now therefore be it resolved by the affirmative vote of no less than 2/3 of the voting strength of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls, Rensselaer County, New York, as follows. Section 1, the bond resolution set forth in the preambles is hereby amended to provide that the maximum maturity of the bonds therein authorized will be, I have to enter into the actual document, 15 years, and will thus exceed 5 years with respect to the issuance of the bonds authorized therein. Section 2, upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in full in the official newspaper of said village for such purpose, together with the notice of the village clerk in substantially the form provided in section 81 of the local finance law, and section 3, this resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum. Please note, as we're looking for someone to offer it, it will include the addition of 15 years in section 1. So looking for someone to offer the resolution and second it.
I'll offer it.
Would someone like to second it?
I'll second.
Alright, thank you, Megan. Any further discussion on this? Alright, hearing none, can we do a roll call vote, please, Marie?
Mayor Allen,
Yes.
trustee Shetty,
Yes.
trustee Alter,
Yes.
trustee Walreed,
Yes.
trustee O'Malley,
Yes.
and deputy mayor Ryan,
Yes.
Alright,
and Decker.
passes. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Denise, for taking the time to explain that, and again, my apologies on not
Thanks.
getting all that out earlier. Okay, new business, number 2, ARPA funds. I don't know if we want to have any more discussion on this, but, it's there if you want to talk about it, it's there if you want to prioritize, and I still do have the Excel spreadsheet if you guys want to reference it. So what does the board want to do with this right now?
Can I, if the one comes out, I'll give you this.
Sure.
Maybe, I think everybody's seen, has hopefully seen, the governor has a, I guess we call it downtown building revitalization grant
Yep.
program. So I did a little looking into that. We do not need to have the full grant paperwork in until October if we decide to do it, but we have to file a letter of intent, by August 11th. They will not accept anything after August 11th, and I looked at the form. I'm not a grant writer, I don't know the first thing about grants. It appears to me that what we need is some basic projects. I think they're just looking for sort of a prima facie idea of what you want to do, and then by October 11th, the entire grant application with all the details would have to be in. But if we're gonna do that, and there's no shortage of buildings here that would qualify, any eyesore, public hazard, there's no shortage of them driving around. I don't know what the rules are about ownership of the building and how that all works. I'm sure that someone can figure that out, I'll try to figure that out. But I think that we should, try to get in on this. One Center Street includes demolition, not just rehabilitation. Demolition and rehabilitation of the plot itself. One Center Street would be a good thought on that. The Weebay building, again, I don't know, what's that, 59 Church Street or 57, whatever one, 57 Church Street. 59 Church Street. Yeah, there's no shortage of buildings and properties around here that would qualify. And there is a special emphasis on brownfield sites. So I don't know if we could, I imagine that spot down, that was just capped, the old, open sewage spot. I think that would be, and perhaps anybody knows that's a brownfield site, right?
It's only the brownfield site is a program through DEC,
No, it's.
and I think it's just their site that the DEC has ordered them to take care of. For that to qualify, we would have to own it and apply for the program and get it.
Separate program, brownfield redevelopment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hazardous site.
So that would be municipal ownership of the property?
Well, no, it can be private.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
it can be private, but it's a separate program in the agency. The brownfield redevelopment program and the hazardous waste site remedial program.
Oh, well, this particular grant application mentioned special priority would be given to developing brownfield and other type things. So I personally, my opinion is that we should be applying for a lot of these grants. A few, beginning proof for a few of them may be revolutionary to the village. I mean, just.
Well, who can so you say if someone has to write the grant, correct?
At least the initial application by August 11th.
Kevin, didn't we have a setup with B&L to pursue this? And I feel like we had that.
That was the $10 million,
Small cities grant?
no, the $10 million downtown DRI grant.
That's okay. I'm sorry, I was confusing that this whole time.
The
So.
price of that was $25,000 to carry that out, which happens over a 9-month period.
What's the name of this one again? I'm sorry, man.
It's,
By the way, I
The downtown revitalization issue.
I met a lady who does grant writing and she gets 10% of any grant she gets. She's a town clerk down in, Montebello, New York. Joan Willard's.
The Restore New York grant.
Thank you.
Grant program.
Whereas somebody like Delaware Engineering, if they do it, they charge an upfront fee, and we don't get it.
Shared services, or not shared, yeah, that's a service agreement, we'd have to go in with them.
So this lady only gets paid if she gets a grant, so.
Why not?
I have no problem, I think it's a great idea.
The definition of this grant is properties that cause quote-unquote severe economic injury to the community, leaving a highly visible and blighted property or properties in the central business district of a highly or moderately distressed community, which has a depressing effect on the overall economic development potential of the community.
There's that big brown ugly building right on Church Street too, next to the parking lot. Across from James Jessamine.
Oh,
No, but that's privately owned for sale.
Again, I imagine unless they're only talking about buildings that have been taken for tax foreclosure or something like that. There's gotta be something.
We'll have to look into that.
Dory's Corner was done with a revitalization grant.
Yeah, the existing Iron Coffee building.
Downtown Main Street.
Yeah. I mean, Andy, if we wanted to pursue this approach, bring in this grant writer to write some grants for us, and it sounds like we're thinking about using ARPA funds for this. Is that what we're thinking?
If Kevin's got somebody that only gets paid if they get the grant, I mean, that to me seems like a no-brainer.
How would we proceed with that?
Get a proposal from her.
Can you get a proposal?
Sure.
Yeah.
That would be terrific.
We have to do that before the next.
Right, because it just came out on July 11th.
And they
They just came out yesterday.
Yeah, and the application has to be by August.
It's got to be by 11th.
It's
Right.
tight.
That's your letter of intent by August 11th.
Right.
Your letter of intent.
Yeah, right, just the sort of,
Right.
the letter of intent.
Right.
You
Yeah.
do not need to go into great detail, but
Correct.
it does require some information on it about what you want to do, who you're kind of partnering with to do it, so.
The problem, the biggest problem would be gaining control of any property that they want to take down. It's like one set of streets in bankruptcy right now.
Right.
You couldn't take that unless the judge released it for.
Well, I think I would get started with.
Typically, it would take a while to get on their feet anyway.
We didn't condemn that property for too long.
Yeah, the roof is all caved in.
Yeah.
It's in rough shape.
All right.
It's too bad that
The county
So
dropped
if
the
Kevin
ball.
gets the proposal,
The county dropped the ball big
Yeah,
on that.
the county dropped
We
the
had
ball.
someone ready to go on
No
that.
sugarcoat, the county messed it up.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to discuss ARPA-wise?
I did check on one Center Street today, and that is the fact that it's still in bankruptcy.
All right.
I'd rather not discuss too much ARPA stuff without, I'd rather not discuss too much ARPA stuff without Bobby, because he
I
puts
think
so
we
much
should,
work.
I think we should wait until Bobby's.
I brought that up, and he did say if the board is of like mind, go for it. But I think it would make more sense to consider these next week.
On this particular one though, we have to have some, if we want to do it, we have to have something in place by August 11th.
We can talk about it next week.
Okay.
Special meeting.
I'm all in favor of that.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're done with ARPA discussions. All right. Feel free to bring it up again if you want. We have quotes from Marie that I emailed to you guys. I can throw up on the screen as well. These are to install electric to village-owned utility poles. These are utility poles that are separate from the other programs we were looking into. These are ones that are owned by the village. I just wanted to clarify and correct that. We reached out for a few quotes. We got 2 back. Is that correct?
correct.
And let me find my document to bring that one up. That's the wrong file. Excuse me a second. Oh, I need more screens. Is this the one?
Yep,
Okay, sorry.
it's okay.
Alright, so this is the first proposal from J.A. Bradley and Sons. This one goes for $3,000. This would labor materials to install 7 GFCI receptacles on streetlight poles. The second quote we received was from Hathaway. electric for $3,800. We asked and advertised and only got the 2 quotes back, so.
Were these poles moving to Church Street?
Neil, well, you
They're-
bring this.
Well, Neil, they're Church and Main. They're the 7 that we're adding the Christmas lights to this year. Says we're going on either side.
The ones we own?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Have you heard anything about that company that?
Yeah, that's, Andy and I we met earlier in the week about it, and,
Well,
yeah, I just got correspondence from him just a little while ago. I'm having a video conference with him tomorrow.
Cool.
And I did get
We
the
were talking about switching, getting them to match our current lights.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I, just so you know, I did, I got we have the National Grid buyout pricing and all that stuff, but Andy and I, we have questions in regards to that. I sent Joe Malone an email today and haven't heard back, so, like I sent emails all over the
So board, looking for a motion to approve one of them? Marie, Neil, do you guys have a particular recommendation? I mean, the more inexpensive one is J. Bradley and Sons, over halfway. They both have done work for us. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, Neil, we talked about it. Didn't you say Bradley could move on it where,
The availability is
yeah.
the lowest
And
bidder.
and the
more
cost, and
available.
definitely, he's done a lot of work for the village, so I mean, it would go with a better cost.
Change within 30 days, but not if we got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. Bobby, you want to make the motion?
Yeah, so I'll make the motion, we accept the proposal from J.A. Bradley and Sons
Okay.
in the amount of $3,000.
Second. Thank you, Dan. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Great. Thank you. Thank you guys for your work on that. Next. Okay, landfill leachate pump. Andy, do you want me to explain a little bit of this, or do you want to explain it? I'm fine to explain it.
I'll give the Reader's Digest version, which is obviously the village has undertaken a significant amount of work at the landfill leachate pump system. And the work was completed by Labella. Recall that one of the items was a village-owned pump that was to be refurbished and reinstalled, and that was done. And it did operate for a period of time, actually several months. Millsquaw's office estimates that about 5 million gallons of leachate have been pumped since the project was completed, but the pump has failed again. And it's been out for several weeks now. As a result, the leachate is not being pumped down to the wastewater treatment plant. This has caused great concern at DEC. Also understand that Honeywell is currently undertaking the remedial investigation and feasibility study for remediation of the landfill. The fact that the leachate is building up is also impairing the ability of Honeywell's contractor to get the RIFS completed. To address that situation and quite frankly to satisfy DEC, which is requiring that it be repaired, Sterling Millsquaw's office has obtained a further proposal from Labella. There is a risk of pulling the pump and attempting to refurbish it again and put it back in at expense, not knowing its long-term viability. The alternative would be a new pump. To address that in terms of time, Labella and Sterling recommend a two-step approach. The first, and for what's up for consideration tonight, is to lease short-term an available pump and get that installed and start pumping down the leachate again. The second thing for you to consider, which is not in front of you tonight, and that's because additional information is needed before the board can fully consider this, is the purchase of 2 additional pumps. Now, why 2? The design of this always envisioned 2 pumps, a dual system. They would operate on and off. If one happened to go out of service for whatever reason, there was still a pump, and they're designed to alternate so they don't, quite frankly, they're going to last longer. That's how the system was designed. But to buy 2 new pumps will be an additional expense. And because of what's going on currently, there's a lag time of between 6 to 12 weeks before any equipment would even be available after order. So there's a short-term need, and that's to lease an available pump, have that installed, and get that leachate pumped down, while Millspaugh's office accumulates the rest of the required information on the purchase of 2 additional pumps, what the full cost and timeline would be for you to consider that possibly and likely at your special meeting next week. What's in front of you tonight would be the consideration of authorizing the lease of the pump and the installation of that lease on the leased pump on a short-term basis to get the leachate pumped down. And there's a cost that the mayor has highlighted of that at $9,740.
And just to reiterate what Andy said, the purchase of 2 new pumps, and there's specifics on this type of approach. They have to be twins. You don't want to have different pumps from different companies that need to be the same, and they would basically operate by taking turns pumping, so you're not blowing one out, and if one goes down, you still have the ability to pump it. One of the things that Mark explained in our call was the fact that it's totally hypothetical that we can actually take out the old motor and rehab it again, but that requires the cost to take it out, to diagnose it, to do the repair. And if we're doing that, and we're already looking at several thousand to do that, we might as well do it right. And then, do you want to discuss anything about Honeywell discussions with the further tasks?
Well, generally, I'll start by saying the existing village-owned pump that was rehabbed is old now, and that particular pump is no longer made. And so when you want to have the twin pumps, that presents the issue too. They've learned that the manufacturer doesn't make that type of pump anymore. So that's the reason for the acquisition of 2 new pumps. And as the mayor explained, twin pumps. Same model, same manufacturer, they would work in tandem. There are discussions ongoing with Honeywell to try to address some of this cost because it will assist them in performing the RIFS. Nothing definite on that. All we can say is those discussions are ongoing, and that's part of the additional information we hope to have for the board next week.
And in discussions with some of the previous debt that we have, this is not a situation that was made by us. It was just all here. It's one of those things that we adopted as board members.
Right, and understand there's already financing in place for this leachate pump system that you did approve, and it has been financed. Part of the budget on that included a contingency. This would be covered by the contingency amount. So there is already financing in place to address the short-term lease and installation issue. There is not available financing for the purchase of the 2 additional pumps. So more to follow on that. But at least this proposal to lease the pump and get it installed and pump and the leachate is covered by your existing financing and would come out of the contingency.
So Honeywell would be on the hook for any of the costs for this?
We don't know that yet, Kevin. Those are the ongoing discussions.
Yeah.
There's 2 components. One was the lease, right, short-term lease, and the other one was the higher cost of acquiring 2 new pumps.
And then
What is the cost of that? Was it?
I got it up here. This is part of the. So task 1 is all of the work specific to this, taking out the old leasing, putting the new, $9,704.
What about the new ones?
The new tasks would be installation that says task 1, but it's supposed to be task 2.
Right.
This one's 36.4. The installation of the removable pump crane would be another about 5. That's 41. Operator training. Oh, there it is. But that's 52.5 minus the task 1 we're considering now.
43.
So you're looking at another 41.
I noticed that they have a vac truck in there. Could we possibly use our vac truck to cut the cost down? It probably wouldn't be a lot, but do some.
They probably won't let us just do it to a back that's hazardous waste.
Yeah, there's rules on handling hazardous
We had
waste.
issues with that before. And we wanted to go and fix it cheaper than what they fix it for. Joe the switch and reset the breaker.
I don't think we need to do that anymore because of the new equipment up on the panel.
No, we still do.
Alright. Well, this will alleviate that. So anyway,
If it takes us longer than 8 weeks to get the 2 new pumps, what do we do then? It looked like it was for 8 weeks.
yeah, it assumed 8 weeks.
Pump rental, assume 8 weeks, yeah.
So we'd be looking at an additional, looks like $500 a week, and again, that would probably tie into discussions with Honeywell.
It would. And understand that if Mark's review yesterday was correct, and I think it is, there's about 26,000 still remaining in the approved financing. So there is some delta between that 9,700 and the amount that's left. It's something that the village could address if need be, but there's ongoing discussions with the company.
But in order to take care of the meter requirement, we need to make a motion to,
Approve task 1
Task
as set forth in the Labella letter, correct?
So that's what we have in front of you.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Dan? All right, so
And we'll make that clear that that's a motion to approve task
Task
1
one.
in the Labella letter dated July 7th, 2022, and as recommended in the Sterling Environmental letter dated July 12th.
All right. Further discussion on this? Hearing none, should we do a roll call vote or?
Just the motion's okay.
All right, motion will suffice. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? All right, hearing none, passes unanimously. All right. Thank you. Next new business item. We have a couple of re-levy corrections, and although it would be entertaining to hear me try to stumble through explaining all this, I'm just going to lean on my clerk and treasurer later. Can you explain this real fast?
Yeah, basically what happened is the new program that New York State put out, the ODTA program for assistance for water and sewer, were sending checks out to us, but they were delayed arrival before our re-levies went down to the county. So there were re-levies on the property tax bills that were paid by ODTA. So we had to go back to the county and adjust these bills. So these bills have been adjusted through the county, the re-levies were taken off. The water sewer was paid by the ODTA checks, and we just need a motion to approve the new property tax bills for several owners. Right now, the county's only sent us back 2. They have 3 more for consideration, so we'll probably have those next month.
So we're only looking for a motion on these 2, right?
Right now, I'm just looking for these 2 for 10 Rogers Avenue and 14 Madison Street.
I'll make that motion.
So should we do Andy one at a time, or make them?
You can do that together in this case.
Okay.
In this-
So looking for motion to correct re-levy of 10 Rogers Avenue by, do we need to say the numbers? $1,597.73. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then that was 10 Rogers Avenue. The other one was what? I'm trying to get that back. Yes, 14 Madison for the amount of
Yeah.
$2,706.46.
So the corrected bills they happen to both be the same amount, $1,003.35. Is their amended property tax bill?
What was the second figure on, I'm sorry, 14 Madison Ave?
That was, can I put these up on the screen?
270446.
Re-levy documents? Okay, I can throw this up on the screen here. As soon as I figure out which screen my mouse is
Are you
on.
doing them together or separately? I'm sorry.
We were doing them together.
You can do it together.
And
That's
my
what I
mouse
thought.
stopped working. Awesome. Cool. Let's see if I can get the mouse to work now. Nope, my mouse just died. Turret.
Time to go home.
Oh, man.
Mouse doesn't work.
Oh, it's just such a pain to do. Alright, I'm gonna maximize this and zoom in. That's zooming out, sorry. Whoa, okay. I apologize.
The
This must be
names
fun for all the viewers
names
at home.
probably shouldn't
So
be
this is the
shown.
Rogers Avenue, this is the amount currently on the tax bill, $1,597.73, and the corrected tax would be $1,003.35, correct?
Yeah.
And the other one, I'm sorry, I have to scroll down a lot, it's super confusing, is 14 Madison, the amount is $2706.46, which is the current bill, will be corrected $1,003.35 as well. So we're looking for a motion to make those changes.
Got the
Bobby has the
motion.
motion. Need a second? Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Thank you. I know these are some of the most tedious discussions that we can have. And we have a water bill and tax adjustments for 3 Wall Street due to an administrative error of basically not knowing when the water was properly shut off and billing appropriately. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Denise?
No, except they called and talked to Marie, and Marie reached out to the water department, and these people received fines for their water meter not reading, and they were estimated usage applied to their bills. And the water department notified us that the water had been turned off in 2018.
Can I
And
also
then
throw this
turned
up
back
on the
on in
screen?
January of 2022, which we weren't notified. So there needs to be some better communication going on.
And we've talked about some ideas on how to make that happen. In the meantime, this is the tax bill. What's that? This is the tax bill, and down here, that's the ledger. You don't need to see the ledger for this, Denise, right?
And yeah, I attached it for your information.
Yeah, it's just all the information.
Okay.
The total of the adjustments is $881.36.
Yeah, those are all bills. We don't need to see all that.
Are they doing something with the property? It's been vacant for a while.
That I don't know. They had the water turned on in January, but I don't know.
And we did apply the $50 turn-on fee.
And we did bill them the turn-on fee of $50, yes.
Alright, so all that in mind, we're looking for 2 separate actions. One, we're looking for a motion to adjust the water bill for 3 Wall Street for, what's the adjustment?
Actually, at this point, it's just going to be to adjust the tax bill.
Oh, my apologies, we do not need to act on the water bill adjustment.
It's just the re-levy,
Just
water
the
re-levy
re-levy.
portion of the tax bill.
Okay. And what would be the amount?
The adjusted amount is $881.36.
Thank you. So I'm looking for that motion. Thank you, Megan. Second, Deb. Any discussion, questions? I know this is super confusing. Hearing none. Looking for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Thank you very much. Still can't use the mouse. I don't know why I keep going for it. Village benches. I want to have a quick discussion on the current locations and types of benches. And simply put, there has been some confusion, and we have not. I think in speaking with a couple of us, it would make sense to have a cohesive plan put together on all the benches. Kevin did tremendous amounts of work. I don't even think we know how much work he did putting all of that together to collect the Walter A. Wood benches, to highlight the history of the village, showcase them. A lot of people donated money for that. We just need to put together a cohesive plan to in my mind, I think we can do that. We don't have to do it right here at this meeting. I know that I literally just drew out the wood park, like trees, benches, and so on and so forth. It would not be hard to do something that looks a lot better and is easier to read than that.
Concrete pads for all of them.
Yeah, then that's that thing, like we can decide what we want where do we want quotes on concrete pads. In driving through the village, we had a couple ideas on places that could benefit with more benches there. A couple on Mechanic Street, maybe something in front of the youth center, maybe something in front of the Church Street parking lot across from Cumbies, because there is a bench on the Cumbies side but not on the other side. Possibilities at the Hall and Main Street spots that we've been working on because we own those properties. Possibility of somewhere along the walking way of Church Street between maybe the Stewarts and the Point or at the Point. Possibly at the new and old Maple Grove cemeteries. There are a lot at the town park, but maybe we want to put some more or get some more of the Walter A. Wood ones there. Barton Avenue, Lewis Miller Museum, they have one on the tractor on display. But again, and the Legion.
One is going to the Miller Museum and another is going to the town park if they agree to it. The McGuire family sponsored one in memory of Isabel McGuire, who was a teacher at the school, and her mother lives across the street, so I'll have to ask the town board for permission for that. So,
That would be great. So we just need a group to get together and plan this out. Obviously, Kevin, if you want to be in this, I would want you first and foremost on this because you've been involved in it so much.
so we talk about buying new benches in addition to the Walter Wood benches?
We can certainly discuss it. I don't see why it wouldn't be on the table.
There's just some benches where people, especially the ones in Wood Park, have people who donate the money requesting to be there.
Yep.
There's really an attachment for people that from band concerts, and actually probably 75% of people that sponsor the benches are former Hoosick residents that wanted their family name remembered in the park.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So.
Actually, I tried to get some people to put them out on the streets or different locations, and they weren't too thrilled with that.
Also, the sponsors were excited, yeah.
And this is another one of those things that was moving around, and I've been so swamped for the past few months, I haven't been able to give it the attention it deserves, so my apologies on that. Kevin, Bobby, I'm assuming you guys want to be involved in figuring this out. Kevin with all the benches, Bobby DPW, anyone else want to be in on this? All right. We'll get something scheduled as soon as we possibly can together.
Figure out how many benches we need.
Yep.
One other thing besides benches is garbage cans. You know, we got money from the LDC for new ones, but the one by the senior center is rotting out, and the one by Church Street parking lot is also starting to rot out.
Are those old ones or new ones?
And also the ones in the Wood Park were ones that the Chamber of Commerce bought probably back in 1985, and they're
Beyond.
yeah.
So you can
Okay.
add that to the discussion.
So, yeah, we'll add that into the discussion.
Well,
That sounds
why don't
great.
we include that with the benches and we can do it all in one shot, right?
Yeah, benches and garbage
definitely.
cans. All right. Great. Anything else you guys want to share with that? You guys good to move on? All right. Thank you. Phone system at the highway garage. I had this quote in front of us earlier. I have, Andy, one question caveat about this. Let me bring it up. This is the quotes. I had a discussion with Jackie Berry to get in touch with her today. There's two things I want to note about this quote. And again, this is an existing service that we have. This is the voice over IP. This has been saving us money as opposed to having 25 individual lines from a company who doesn't offer tech support. Gotta get this right. So there's one-time purchases and monthly costs. This is an additional line, which will be the line we put in the main lobby, and there's a discount on that. These are two desk phones, one for the main lobby, one for Neil's office. And again, this will be using internet service and not the old copper lines. The virtual fax service is the same fax service that we have operating in the village office, in the courtroom, and in the police department. And we purchased a virtual fax bridge so that our analog machines work and we can still do faxes the same way, and you guys will vouch that it hasn't been an issue. And one of the neat caveats of the virtual fax is we actually have them saved as digital copies that we can access even if we lose the fax. So this contract here would be a $180 one time, and it would increase our monthly charge to $51.82. The one caveat is I forgot that by adding Neil's phone here, we need to add a second line for Neil. So it'll actually be an additional about $24. But I don't know if we need to have an exact quote, as long as we're good to move on that from the board, because it's under, it's a specialty service, it's not a huge expense, so.
Note it in the motion,
It'll have an additional.
Estimated to be 24.
Okay. So this is the plan moving forward, and again, once this is done, we get to get rid of more phone lines that we're paying for here that we won't need to use anymore, and it'll be long-term savings. And this is another thing that I'm hoping by August we have all of it figured out for all of our locations.
So this will be the end of the phone issues we've been experiencing for the last.
Almost. The water plant will be the last one.
Okay.
Yes. So I think the other thing is, this is a new thing for Nextiva, when you change a contract, they have a requirement that whenever you make a change, you're recommitting to 2 years. We have like 14 months left, so if we do this, we're recommitting to
Another
2
8
years,
months.
but I'm good with that anyway, so I don't wanna change anything. So, that's that. Are there any questions on this? Alright, hearing none, I'm looking for a motion would this be authorize the mayor to execute an agreement for additional phone lines?
The
As
board approves it and authorizes the mayor to execute the necessary agreement.
with the addition of an extra line,
Estimated to be,
additional $25.
yeah.
Alright, thank you. Looking for that motion? Thank you, Dan.
Second.
Second, Bobby. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. Great. Thank you. I gotta touch base with Jackie tomorrow, so make note of that, please. Regarding the property up on Ashley Drive next to our existing Rogers Avenue tank and pump station, the offer still stands. They still want to sell it to the village, and they have an asking price, but we've communicated to them we really need an appraisal to understand full market value. So I'm just looking for approval from the board to have someone appraise the property for a full market value. It'll probably be an expense of under $1,000.
I would guess.
And in speaking with Jim Herbert about this, purchasing this property gives us more options for when it comes to fixing that tank. And even if we get the property for 15, 20, 25,000, they would figure out how to make that work in their budget, with their existing budget, not as an extra thing we would go into debt for, but they would, all right, we're gonna not use something here. That's what Jim said to me. God's honest truth.
So for the purchase price, you would take out of his budget?
That's what he said. He would make it happen, because it's that important.
Should he give us a number, a top number, what he can do?
He
Well,
said,
we cast his other leg.
I mean, the initial asking price is fine to discuss publicly, right? It's not a reason I wouldn't.
Is it currently being marketed for a particular price?
I was told it was being marketed for a set price.
If it's a private negotiation, I would not. If you can confirm it's been listed at a sales price, then it wouldn't be an issue.
I can't confirm that, but I will say that it's been listed and there's been communication in it.
How big is a piece of property?
I can bring it up if you give me a minute. It's it'll take me like.
So all we're approving is for you to get
To
get an appraisal. Yep.
Yeah.
And can we use does it have to be doesn't it have to be it's not considered commercial, right? I mean, an appraiser, it can be
I'm not sure how the property is being marketed. I'm not sure how it's zoned.
I'm sure it's residential. It's all residential.
Residential, yeah.
Here's the property right here. This is the existing pump station. Tank and pump station. This is the property.
So what it amounts to is essentially a residential building lot price?
Yeah. Yeah.
It should be a residential appraisal. Highest and best use sounds like residential.
You want
Yep.
the appraisal to come in low?
What's that?
You want the appraisal to come in low?
We're hoping so.
What's the person that keep increases?
We're hoping so. We'll see.
All right.
We want a good faith, fair market value appraisal.
And then we can use that in our discussions and negotiations, and hopefully once we have that, maybe as soon as the August meeting, I have a deal to propose to you, and I have Jim signing his blood, it'll take it out of his budget. No pressure. So I'm looking for a motion to authorize the mayor to get an assessor.
Just to authorize the village to obtain an appraisal
Appraisal.
for the property.
Fair market.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Dan. Further discussion?
I know something with appraisers, so.
Okay,
Perfect.
Even better.
Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. I have a few items that came up very late that I just want to throw out real fast.
Before you jump on that.
Yes, please.
Just note in the minutes that the appraisal will constitute a specialized service and no bidding is required.
Appraisal will, I'm sorry,
Will be considered a specialized service.
so no bidding.
No bidding is required.
Thank you.
Okay. So the first thing, I had thought this was gonna be ready at the last meeting when we, when we approved, 4, letters of resignations of part-time officers who resigned. We didn't have the 5th one in time. We did just get it tonight, so this would be from Ryan Ash, who actually had been out, I think, actually serving overseas or doing some sort of a military service, but to whom may concern, please accept this letter as formal notification I'm resigning from my position as a police officer with the Hoosick Falls Police Department effective immediately. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this community for my time of service. So this is a letter from Ryan Ash that I wanted to pass around, and if that's all right with you, I'd accept a motion to accept his letter of resignation.
Second.
Thank you, Bobby. Kevin, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
Again, for me with these, recuse myself from those.
So you're abstaining?
I don't think it, we only had a lawyer. Am I abstaining or recusing myself from a motion on the police department motions, is it?
You should recuse yourself.
Okay, I was wondering if they were one and the same or.
They're not.
Okay.
Abstention is simply you're participating in the discussion or deliberation or choosing not to vote. If you shouldn't be involved in the discussion or deliberation, you recuse yourself.
Thank you.
You should recuse yourself.
So let the motion note, trustee Shuddy recused himself. Everyone else was in favor. Opposed or abstentions? There were none, right? No. Okay. Thank you. The second item was, Neil, can we wait a week on this? This was the Department of Transportation.
Yeah, we got it all set to go.
Oh, we have a
It's
resolution.
real quick, yeah.
All right.
Annual maintenance permit.
There's an annual maintenance permit that we keep forgetting to approve with the New York State Department of Transportation. And Andy, you got a resolution together on this?
Yes.
Is it okay if we throw this out right now, or are we okay to wait a week? Do you guys want to do it now and get it done with, or just wait a week?
It's real quick.
I'm fine either way.
Neil, if you'll allow me, it's New York State DOT does require work permits, even for the village to work within the state
Yeah, why
highway or
don't you get this
right of way.
done?
In
Because of the
conjunction
issue on
with
the
that,
corner.
then they do have the requirement to post some kind of security. Generally, that's a requirement for DOT work permits. DOT has not come up with a program where they will allow a longer-term work permit, and in conjunction with that, municipalities can approve what's called an undertaking. It is a 20-year term for the undertaking under the terms of DOT's form, but rather than obtaining any specific security, you're just putting the village's full faith and credit behind any damage that may occur to the state highway within the right-of-way as a result of work under a work permit. A lot of municipalities are simply doing this. They do need a resolution from the village board indicating we'll agree to execute the undertaking, and then Neil can file the application form with DOT. It'll make his life easier administratively.
You guys content to move on this now?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. This is a resolution authorizing undertaking with the New York State Department of Transportation. I think Andy reviewed the whereas in your discussions right now, so I'm going to skip to the now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls in regular session, duly convened as follows. 1. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls hereby approves the execution of the undertaking in the form and content as attached here too, and also the related general permit application by the village highway superintendent or appropriate village official, as the case may be, to allow the village's operations and or actions upon New York State highways and or within New York State rights of ways, and further that a copy of this resolution shall be filed with New York State Department of Transportation by attaching it to any necessary permit application or agreement relating to the undertaking and or general permits. Need someone to offer the resolution and second it?
Motion. Sorry.
Thank you. Offered by Kevin, seconded by Ryan. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
I got a roll call.
Oh, sorry, roll call, my bad.
Trustee Shuddy?
Yay.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Alter? Decker absent. Trustee Welby?
Yes.
Mayor Allen?
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Ryan.
The last thing, I had 5, I think, comments on Facebook that we really can't hear anything without getting some more audio equipment. I know the audio equipment I would get because it's what I do at school. I could probably get us a few microphones and a little conversion box to pick up all the mics for like $500 to $700. Is that something you guys want me to look into? This is one of those things where we offer the service of having it via Zoom and or live streaming on Facebook, which is a great thing to offer and it helps people out, but also they can't hear things, so it's not as effective. Even if we were inside a room with better acoustics, we would still need a couple microphones to do it. Should be able to do it for under $1,000, but I can get quotes to you. Is that something you want me to look into?
Again, we're gonna continue to stream every month.
Our choice. The law right now is we don't technically have to be streaming, we are offering it.
Correct. A number of municipalities allow or offer streaming so people can stay at home and at least watch the open meeting.
Was that prior to COVID, anything to do that, they did that?
A number did, even
Okay.
prior, yeah.
Yeah.
Historically, it was always through the local cable company, but then separate
Right.
services. And a lot, right on their homepage, their municipal website will have a link to watch there.
Can we make it so they can watch but can't comment?
No comments.
So, they
That
want
is defeating the purpose, Bobby Ryan.
authorize the mayor
All
to
right.
get the
Depends on
quotes?
whose birth?
I don't need a motion for that, I'll just get quotes.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Do you guys have anything else you need to bring up before we move into executive session? Okay. Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to enter executive session to discuss personnel matters and pending litigation with no business to be conducted at the conclusion of executive session. Dan?
Okay.
I'll give it to Megan because
Oh,
she spoke sooner. All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. We are ending at 8:39 and moving into executive session with no business after. Thank you all.